It's a good beer, right? I brought the good stuff today.
If you're going to have one beer tonight, make it...
Heineken.
What are you guys drinking? Heineken.
I'm drinking Heineken tonight. Welcome to Killer POV. This is episode number 89. I'm your host, Rob G. from Icons of Fright. With me is Elric Kane, drinking my beer.
One beer?
One beer.
I told him one because I can't afford to buy more than...
It's from Holland. If you're going to bring one beer, bring one from Holland.
Yes.
That's what I always say.
And also Rebekah McKendry from
Hello.
Fangoria.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Well, I guess all right.
Yeah, it's been kind of
mediocre.
My week's been a little topsy-turvy. But
Listen, there's a reason there's multiple beers here.
Okay.
It's dark times. But not for this next 2 hours.
No. And my week's looking up. Like today was like my turning point.
It was. It's been a dark summer.
All right. So
I get it.
Yeah. So we have a very special guest coming in later in the show. Old friend of mine named Paul Solet.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. He's got a new movie called Dark Summer, and we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other stuff. And body horror. That's the topic.
Body horror. Last minute topic, guys. Come on. Which is fine. It's actually one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
I could go back to body horror like a lot of times.
Well,
Yeah,
of course
so
you
can I.
It's a lot of fun.
Elric is
sense.
oozing with excitement.
But yeah, no. And also, Paul, I mean, we'll talk about when he's on it, but he's one of those directors who I don't know personally.
Right.
Not someone
Becca
I've
told
ever
me she's never met him in person.
Yeah, but I have a crazy Fangoria connection. Like my very first day at Fango, I encountered Paul Solet.
Wow. We're going to get to that.
We'll get to that.
It was like he wasn't even
We'll start with
famous
our
at
Paul
the
Solet.
time.
I'll save my start for
I
when
want to
he's
put him on
sitting
the
here.
spot
Yeah.
when he's sitting here.
I'll flatter him in person. I like that.
It's not like he's listening right now or anything.
Can he hear in there? Is that why he's got that weird smirk on his face?
All right, so let's get through what we've seen, and then we
that was
can
a Boston
get
thing.
to the guest. I only saw two things this week. What about you guys?
I'm loopy off the fumes. They're like
Right, they paint in here.
They're painting the studio, and it's a
gonna be-
little kind of spray paint like huffy in here.
I feel great. It's gonna be a
Man,
great episode.
I'm gonna have the worst headache after this.
So man, I saw this one movie, man. Fucking I saw Strangers on Train in 35 millimeter.
Oh, hey.
And what's cool about this is that I thought maybe it's possible I saw the remake when I was young, but I think what happened is as a kid, because I saw Throw Mama from a Train, it somehow colored me never wanting to see Strangers from a Train again because I'd seen the joke version of it. And then you watch all these other Hitchcock and you forget about certain movies of his work. So I saw a double feature with Saboteur, which was really good, a good solid Hitchcock. But then Strangers on a Train is top tier, maybe top 3 or 4 for me now. This film is like the best example of his transition as having been also a silent film director, where he's one of the only ones who lasted all the way into talkies. It has sequences in it. There's a stalking scene at a carnival that is one of the best scenes I've ever seen.
That's in Terror in the Isles, isn't it? That one
It might
scene?
be.
I think it is.
It's
and you
so
took your students to this, right?
I took my students, from film school down to Relativity, and it is so tense and beautiful visual storytelling. But the star of this movie isn't Hitchcock. The guy who plays the villain, Robert Walker. I did look him up. I recognized his face. When the movie started, I was like, Farley Granger from Rope. And this guy is just like, I think it might be the best role in any Hitchcock. I mean, it's just so bonkers crazy. Like, his performance is like creepy. It's weird. It has all sorts of innuendos about sexuality and all sorts of stuff. But he's just so like sold on the idea of being a sociopath. He's just like, yeah, why don't we just do, hey, you agreed, even though he didn't agree. And the way they portray him and the strangling, it's just really, I mean, if you haven't seen this film, if you can get on Blu-ray, it is stunning.
I need to check it out. This is one of those, and please forgive me for this, I was young once, when they showed it my freshman year of college in like an intro to film class. And I was like, oh, it's in black and white. Can't we just watch like something else? And so I remember falling asleep in it. God forgive me.
Right. Well, like I said, there's
18.
a remake. There's a remake, and I don't know who made it, and I have a feeling that maybe when I was young I saw that.
Well, it's getting remade again by David Fincher.
I saw it on the day that was announced, so that was kind of cool.
For the longest stretch. I mean, and since then, of course, I've seen a ton of other, I mean, my daughter's named after Hitchcock. I've seen tons of other Hitchcock, and I absolutely love his stuff, but I've never rewatched Strangers on a Train because I remember it as just being so dry.
No, and I think I just avoided it because, like I said, the Throw Mama from a Train effect is very severe. Billy Crystal does that to a person. And when you put him and Danny DeVito and the woman from Goonies, it's all sorts of bad.
That's Mama Fratelli.
Mama Fratelli. But no, this is like, and it fits perfectly in with a horror show. It's one of his real thrillers. Like, it's actually thrilling, and the murder scene scenes are really interesting. And, you know, they're shot so artistically. It's also one of his most artistic, like the sequences, especially this carnival sequence. It's just like, I mean, there's almost no verbal dialogue. It's all about attraction. The way he portrays the woman, the wife in that movie is like really like a complete whore. I mean, it's crazy. She's off with 2 guys.
Why do you keep watching
misogynist movies?
Because
I believe cinema is probably 90% of cinema
is misogynist.
It's all largely was made by men, so
I would agree with that.
It probably filtered through. But no, it really, and I think Hitchcock's cool because he's actually taking on that misogyny. I mean, he's exploring his own demons with his movies, you know, Vertigo just laid bare, you know, and so I think this is, I don't know, I just really implore people for this role, Robert Walker's role. It's nuts. Yeah. I mean, it's right up there. So that was a real nice surprise because I didn't, you know, you just have mismemories of movies as you grow older. And the other thing I saw last night, I saw our guest film, which we'll be talking about soon, but I saw Annabelle because it dropped. And I had no interest in seeing that in theaters, zero. The only reason I watched it yesterday is because, you know, I was genuinely kind of interested, but Brian Collins for Badass Digest wrote in defense of kind of, hey, this is actually the scariest movie of the year. And it turns out Brian Collins is wrong. Once again, I found the film to be very just middling. The first hour is just setting up. It feels like watching Mad Men for an hour.
Yeah.
And a little bit happens, but nothing much. And the characters are very vanilla. And where in Conjuring, those characters were given 3 dimensions. And I really, really liked the characters in The Conjuring. Like, I liked all the people in that movie. This film I found to be completely kind of DOA on the characters. And then there's some good scenes in the middle.
It's got the bother shot.
It has a bother shot, but they don't even do it well. The thing I always want in horror films is more time at the start to develop characters and give them time before the horror elements start kicking in. And unfortunately, this is one of the first examples I've ever seen of that, where it's wasted. It's like an hour of nothing happening, plenty of time to build character, but they don't build them with any real coloring. They're kind of generic, almost like 1950s characters, even though it's set in the 60s. And so there's something kind of off about it, but it's handsomely made. I just think it doesn't really, it doesn't have James's touch, which The Conjuring had. You know, Conjuring is like a masterclass in that kind of suspense directing, I think. This just kind of fell flat. There was one great sequence with an elevator, won't say anything more, that I thought was actually really effective, and it's a little more goes into kind of demon territory rather than just straight ghosts, which I thought was interesting.
Right.
But it's, you know, it's kind of got that 2 out of 4 stars, which is what you're saying. It kind of feels justified because it felt like they had a big palette that they were going for and just kind of vanilla.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was surprised.
I was really worried about it from the start just because it was like a spin-off movie, and it seemed to be an entire studio project where the studio was.
And it happened quickly, I guess.
Yeah, it was like a rush job.
Yeah, I don't know anything about who put it together. Was anyone involved besides James producing? Was anyone involved in terms of the writers from the original?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how that movie came together.
Yeah,
I know he's got all his eyes set on Conjuring 2,
Yeah.
which will obviously probably be a little bit more of a better film because of that. But I picked it up this week, so I'm going to check it out as well. Was that it on your end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and Elric and I went someplace.
Oh, the basement.
We did go to the basement.
What is this?
Okay,
Explain
so
it.
Elric and I went to the basement. The basement is this thing that they have that they just started up here in LA, and it is a live escape room. Which, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, I'm never going to do that, just because I'm like a haunt.
My reaction when you sent me the email.
Yeah, I was like, fuck that shit. I'm a very much like a haunt purist. I want to walk through a space and have shit jump at me, and then me go, and then you move on to the next room. And that's kind of the haunt that I want. And there's been this big trend recently for, I'll call it torture haunts, where get in there, bitch, get on your knee. People pointing like fake guns at you. Elric's house.
My house.
Elric's household.
And it's much more like a psychological thing, like where, you know, they put you in a room by yourself and won't let you leave, and you're in there for like a half an hour. And I know people who love these things and have become connoisseurs of these kind of like torture-y experience haunts.
Darren Dosman.
Darren does them. Darren does all of them. And I've just never gotten into them. I did it once and I was like, I'm not scared. Yeah. I'm not shocked. I'm a little pissed off and a little irritated and kind of hungry, but not scared in any way. And there's nothing jumping out. So it kind of bored me. This one caught my interest because somebody who knows how much I love the National Treasure movies, which I really should stop admitting so openly, but was like, you will like it because it's all about clues. It's like an adult scavenger hunt. And that's exactly how it is. The setup is that there's this cannibal who has kidnapped you and the people in your group. And in our group, there was 10 of us? Mm-hmm. And he is locking you in this room. And you have 45 minutes to break out of this room, to find a way to break out of this room. And he has left clues for you that if you just can figure it out, you can get out. You have 45 minutes. At the end of 45 minutes, you will be gassed and he will eat you. And so,
how did you do? Did you get out?
No.
You were there,
how did you do?
Oh, I was there physically, but mentally I was pretty checked out.
Oh, really?
While everyone's running around solving clues, I'm standing back looking around trying to Watson that shit.
So
like Sherlock,
all,
Yeah,
so we're all like, we immediately, because we knew that it was all about finding clues and everything. So, and they let me take an entire group with me. I was reviewing it for Fango, so they said bring 10 friends. So I literally just was 10 people from the horror community who really love haunts. So
a pretty high horror IQ in that group.
I mean, there was. Because
I don't know if I'm in a horror movie, I don't know if I want Elric's help, to be quite honest.
I took Brian
You think
Collins.
I'm going to throw you in front of it?
It was Brian Collins,
Dave Parker,
Jared
Mike
Rivet,
Mendez. That's pretty smart.
Dave Parker, Mike Mendez, Axel. I mean, these are
if that
horror
group
savvy
can't survive
people, right?
a horror film,
Exactly. And so the 10 of us go in and we get locked in the room. And then I took Elise Wax from Fear Note was with us. I mean, these are horror geniuses. And then the lights come on and immediately we start rifling through everything in the room looking for the clues. And we start finding the clues. And this matches this. And this key opens this. And hey, here's a secret passage. And in the middle of the room, here's Elric just looking around.
I was surveying.
Just staring just
because I had the feeling
room.
that there was going to be a cerebral way to answer it. There has to be, okay, we're going to think about it. Because also, I think they told us something we're not allowed to give spoilers of what the thing is, but they said the answer is straightforward. It's in front of your nose.
And they
so I wanted to see if there's a bigger picture. Yeah. There isn't.
There isn't. You have to find the clues.
Sure.
But they did give us some stuff. I will say there's a speech. As soon as you go in, you hear the voice of the killer and he's talking about what he's going to do to you and what he's done to his past victims. There were some clues in that supposedly that get used later, but we didn't get there. We asked at the end. They said that we finished at about 70% before we were gassed.
But I mean, that tells you how I think the 12% ratio of people get through.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty onto a group. So I was surprised that we did so poor. I think there's also you just rush. You get in there and you're also it's like a sideshow. It's smoke and mirrors. You get distracted because cool stuff's happening and you forget, what's the bigger picture? Everyone's finding keys and stuff, but you're not really communicating. So you'd have to go in there and really be organized.
Yeah, it would have to. That was the biggest thing is I was like, we need a game plan next time. Because also, as you're finding these rooms and secret passageways, other captives, other people are inside and they're actors, but sometimes they'll help you. And then other times they're doing distractions to kind of keep you from paying attention to solving your way. And then some of the clues I have a feeling were red herrings, leading us down other paths that
hard to know.
Weren't really
So you said next time, so you would do it again.
Oh, hell yes. I will not be beaten by a room.
No, but I don't know if it's about having a good time. I would only do it again out of frustration. I have no interest in doing it again for fun. I only did it because it's this fucking room just made us look dumb.
Out of frustration.
Yeah, it's
I thought it was fun because I do like puzzles.
I think the group of people were fun and that made it fun. So if you find the right group of people, you could have a good time.
But I could best compare the puzzles. For those of you guys who are from the 90s when I was, and you played the Seventh Guest or the 11th Hour games, that kind of sums this up. Or I used to play Gabriel Knight, and there were all these puzzles in there that you would have to solve where you were rearranging things and trying to come up with secret messages. It was like that. And that part kicked ass.
Except it's maybe a little overpriced.
Yeah, but we didn't pay for it.
No, we didn't, but I mean, I think it's $30 for that amount of time.
It is 30
If it was $20, I think you might get more volume. It's the pricing for entertainment's hard.
Yeah.
It's $30 for 45 minutes.
I would say this would rock as a high ropes course. Because when I used to teach, they would make the teachers go to a let's learn to work together camp.
That would be cool.
And it was the dumbest freaking stuff because it was all fall backwards and I'll catch you. No, fuck that. Put them in the room and put your hand in the toilet and get whatever clue is in there out.
That was the one highlight of my night was watching Mike Mendez put his whole arm in an actual dirty toilet.
To get a condom out because clues. There was a clue inside
But then
finding
out that it was just a toilet, man.
Did you take a picture and send it to his best friend, James Wan.
I enjoyed the moment.
It today.
There was a group waiting after us to go in, and they were all scared. They were like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And Elric was like, "We should tell them that the clue is to drink the toilet water. If they do that, they can get out
my
immediately."
Clue was you can get out through the toilet. You have to go through. That's the passage. Just trust me.
Like the train spotting toilet is bigger
Get
on
your
the
smallest
outside.
person, put them head in.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
So yeah, it was a good time. In addition to that, I did my top 10 nun films for Fangoria, so I've been watching nun films all week, so please check that out.
What's number one, The Devils?
I didn't rank them like that. I just did 10. But
how can you rank
I'm
nun
lazy.
films,
yeah, really? Can you really just pick one nun film?
I think I could. I think I really could.
No, you can't. You can't.
Okay.
And then I've also been watching Monsters this week. Absolutely, I loved it when I was a kid, and I was talking with somebody with it about last week, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to binge watch it. And I forgot that there's like 72 episodes. I think I maybe stopped watching after about 30 when I was a kid.
Didn't you ask a hard trivia question about it yesterday that is actually tomorrow? This is the conundrum. Trivia is tomorrow in real time, but yesterday on the show.
Hard trivia, which will be tomorrow, but yesterday.
It already happened. By the time you hear this, it's already
over. So you can't use this as a clue because this is past tense.
Or body horror.
It's complex. It's really complex.
You're blowing my mind, man.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
Alrighty. I saw two quick things I wanted to mention, and then we'll move along. Number one, this is a documentary, but it's got it's a subject that's rooted in horror, and I wanted to talk about it. Called the Montauk Chronicles, which actually is perfect for our guest because this is directed by Chris Garetano, who I've mentioned a lot on the show. Did another documentary called Horror Business, which I keep telling Elric about.
I have that and Son of Horror Business. You should watch them both.
Yeah, and
he made that, or you made that? He made that.
He made Horror Business. Yeah.
He used to come and talk to my class when I taught at Hunter College, and I would show Horror Business, and he would come and talk to the kids about it. They weren't kids; they were like 20. So.
I guess the backstory that I can give you guys is that there's a character. There's one of the guys that is in Horror Business is like really into the whole idea of the Illuminati, being aliens.
Is this the guy who made Catharsis?
No. That's Dave Stagneri. Completely different guy that was in it. And that was kind of the kernel of the idea is that guy approached Chris about doing an idea about kind of the Montauk project. Like out at the tip of Long Island, where I'm from, is a facility that's just abandoned. It's like a government facility. Nobody knows what's happened there, but it's still there. It's just you can't get anywhere near it, and it's just completely abandoned. And all those weird like folklore stories, like they made a monster there that escaped into the woods. They were using alien technology. They were testing boys and turning them into, torturing boys to turn them into kind of like spies and snipers and things like that. All these different rumors, and there's tons. If you go on Amazon, you'll find tons of books with the title Montauk about this. So he went about making a documentary about people that have claimed to either been involved, like actually work at the facility or that stuff, and kind of delve into, is there any truth to any of these rumors and stories? And what happened was he kind of got so deep in it that he became almost the subject of his own doc. And it's really fascinating. I mean, he's a very meticulous, bordering on crazy, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, filmmaker, because he made this doc, finished it maybe 2 years ago, screened it, and from what I understand, like I think maybe I shouldn't tell the whole details, but let's say that other investors saw it, thought it was great, and had a lot of promise, and gave him a little bit of extra finishing funds, and he took that finishing funds and bought like a new camera and essentially just reshot it from scratch. Like he started to shoot narrative pieces to go into it, and was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it all over again. So this has almost been like a 3 or 4 year in the making sort of thing, and it's really cool. It's scary and interesting because you have to try to be objective at these people's stories. But what's fun is while after he talks to them, he does narrative versions of the stories they're telling. And that's kind of like, it's interesting. I've never really seen it done this way in a doc. I'm sure documentaries do it all the time, but it's like, I would equally want to watch just the documentary part as I would want to watch him do a narrative version of this, but they're mixed together. And it's just kind of like, wow.
Sounds like a Forensics Files where they have like
it's pretty
live
much
reenactments.
It's very much like that. And I mean, he's a character in it trying to, to figure out what's true and what's not.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, the best bit is he actually finished it and was going to release it last year, like after he reshot it. And then one of the actual boys came out in secret and said, I'll do an interview if you put a mask on me or whatever. So he like completely stopped, reshot. What? So this guy is in the movie, and it's really intriguing. I mean, that's sort of weird. Like if you watch it late at night, that conspiracy series stuff is like kind of freaky.
Around
like,
a lot of paint fumes.
Yes, we are. That too. So yeah, he self-released that. You can go to the MontaukChronicles.com and just buy it directly from him, VOD. And I think it's going to start touring festivals and all. But
this sounds like ultra meta.
Yeah, no, it's really, it's cool. I mean, I like, the music's fantastic, and I particularly liked, he's got some pretty creepy, scary looking aliens in the narrative parts. So it's kind of like, oh man, that's kind of neat. Yeah, I want to see that movie. So I saw that, and then I saw, everyone knows my love of Korean cinema. It was late one night, I'm flipping through Netflix. I hear about a little movie called...
I bet it's directed by Kim Ki-duk.
It is. It's a little movie called Moebius.
Haven't seen it yet.
That is such a weird film. It's fun, though.
It's not really horror unless you want to do terrible things to your penis over and over again. That's the kind of horror we're talking about. This is the fucking one of the most insane movies I've ever seen in my life. First of all, there's no dialogue. There's not a single line of dialogue in 90 minutes of this movie. And it's essentially about three characters, and like, I think like the father's having an affair, so the crazy mother goes to castrate him, but doesn't get away with it. She does it to the son instead, and that's just the first 5 minutes.
And we all know how that goes.
So there's a lot of incest and castration and typical things that those South Koreans like to do.
I think he's got another. I think Spring, Winter. One of those films has a character who's silent the entire film, and then The Isle is the one. The
Isle is the one I like a lot.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of where I realized who he was, and I love it. The Isle is really good.
He's done a lot of films. Some are hit or miss. He did one called Bad Guy, which I checked out, but I didn't really like that much.
Didn't see that one.
The Isle is one that I remember being really impressed with.
But he does push the boundary. He's South Korean, right?
Yeah, and it does. I mean, this is as boundary pushing as it can get.
So I had not seen Moebius at the time. I had not heard of it. I did not know anything about it. I just knew that it was one.
You did watch it?
I have since then, but I just knew it was one that we had to review for Fango because it was listed as a horror film. And it played, I think it was LA Film Festival last year. It played here.
It definitely was a fest film, yeah.
Yeah, it played here. It was like AFI or possibly, I want to say LA Film Festival.
I think Draft House picked it up, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But at the time, I just knew it was a film that we had to review. And so I was doing the assignments for the week, and I sent my brand new intern, Berlin, who had not even met me yet. I was just like, Berlin. You'll be starting next week. Do you mind going and checking out this film for us? And so when she shows up on Monday, having seen it over the weekend, she was like, that was a pretty intense film you sent me to.
Break them in.
She was trying to describe it to me, and she was like, do you still need a review? And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get that one covered. But it was Berlin, and she's cool with it. So.
If you've never seen that sort of thing, it will change you. But we watch a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah, she was okay. She made it through.
Into vaginas.
This is far worse.
Really?
Yeah, there is.
All right.
I mean, the excessive amount of penis damage that gets done over and over again is just.
It puts Antichrist to shame.
Is that revenge for the canal? Is she getting revenge on the misogyny she claimed in the canal?
That's the. Yeah, you should watch. Yeah, you should watch. Yeah, it's kind of insane.
Canal's
Have you seen R100 yet?
No. I saw the trailer.
I think it's South Korean.
That's the Draft House one they're putting
I don't want to
now.
say which one it is. Yeah, it's the Draft House one. That's what reminded me of it as you mentioned Draft House. It's really fetishy and S&M-y, but it's a good film. I liked it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's twisted fun.
I love that she's like, that's
S&M.
fun.
It's really fun. Where were we this weekend? It was when we were at the basement. Mike Mendez was talking about this film called Retardatron that I've never seen, but apparently it's just like a Mondo film of all of this absolutely heinous footage, and he was like, not everyone can handle Retardatron, but we think Becca could. And I'm like,
without doubt,
I'll take it, guys. You know what? It's a compliment for me, so it's cool. I still haven't seen Retardatron. I probably won't.
Well, that's the latest. Why don't we bring our
Why is our guest so short? You look really short in that chair.
I think his chair, is this the one with kind of the broken hydraulics?
No,
There's one of the chairs.
Oh, he's been waiting in the wings. Definitely put on the headphones. You will feel like you're on
at 4 foot 10 inches.
Is that better? Elric, stop picking on our guest already. That's not fair.
Can I say Solet?
You can say it wrong if you want.
Most people call me Solet. You would be in the vast majority.
I would have been one of those people.
I'm going to tell this story really quick in regarding Paul Solet, our guest's name. I was doing a set visit for Tales of Halloween for Fangoria, for Rebekah, and I think it was Mike Mendez's, and Paul was on the way there. and the PR people had no idea that I knew you, and they were very excited. They're like, we have coming to the set right now one of the directors, Paul Solet. And I was like, you mean Solet? And they're like, what? And I'm like, his name's Paul Solet. And they're like, oh, no, it's Paul Solet. I'm like, really? Are you sure about that? And I was like, no, I've known him for a while. I'm pretty sure it's Solet. And they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's been polite to me all these years. But I've been saying his name all wrong. So he showed up, and I was right, thankfully.
Your pronunciation is pristine. It really is. I'm so impressed.
Did you walk up to him and you were like, slam?
No, you know what?
Solid.
They wanted me to do a little behind the scenes thing, and I wanted to do that live on it. Like, just ask him, like, how do you say your name? I know I've known you all these years, but they didn't do it. So, but anyway, so our guest is Paul Solet, the writer-director of Grace, which is a film that all of us love, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners have heard. His new film is Dark Summer on VOD right now, and limited theatrical.
Yes.
Limited theatricals, wow. Excellent.
Very limited.
Very limited. This is like a pinch. Limited. And, Paul's definitely one of those people that I wanted to have on for a long time. I know Elric and Becca don't know him too well, but I have a lot of history with Paul and a lot of love for him. And I was explaining to Elric, the way I met Paul was, my first impression of him, I have to bring this up, is Paul's first film with Jake Hamilton was Means to an End, or at least the first film that was publicly unleashed into the world. And it was on the Fangoria Blood Drive Volume 2. Mm-hmm. And, very rarely does this happen in our quote-unquote line of work. But I just remember there was a big panel at a Fangoria Weekend of Horrors in New Jersey that was celebrating the release of Blood Drive. And almost all the filmmakers involved showed up and were doing a panel together. And, that's where we met Adam Barnick, and Chris Garitano was there, even though he was on the first Blood Drive. And we just kind of, my first impression was, so in Means to an End, Paul and Jake play effects artists that are sick and tired of not being able to get work. So essentially they start, practically murdering each other to get realistic effects, which is amazing. I thought it was hilarious. But Jake they were both in their, orange, jail suits. And Jake wheeled Paul onto the stage, and
needless to say, I'm just going to give you a spoiler. We end up in jail.
In jail, of course, yeah. But for doing this, because it might be illegal to hurt people on film. But yeah, so they're on stage, and Paul just starts bleeding from all different parts. Like his head started bleeding, his arm. He just rigged up all these blood packs to bleed.
And I was in a wheelchair. They actually had to carry me onto the stage.
I love that. You were totally method. You were like, I'm in a wheelchair. Cool. But that's the thing. It's like all these, you guys kind of stole the show from all the other filmmakers because you were just kind of bleeding all over the place.
We made sure we let the panel happen, so everyone got. And then, when it was over, I had 1 million blood packs. I bladders under a towel.
Yeah.
And I just hit one, and it started to go. And Tony Timpone thought he was like, "Are you okay? Yeah. Did this happen?" He's so sweet. He was like, "Are you all right? Did this happen during a film?"
Yeah. Did he ask you about the wheelchair? I was like, "Oh, what happened? Why are you in a wheelchair?"
He was like, "Did this happen during a film? Did you hurt yourself?"
You pulled a Joe Bigas and broke your back.
I did not do that.
So that was amazing. And I mean, that night, one of the icons of Fright writers, who was an effects guy, Jay Alvino, and his crew, Wicked Effects, had done some effects on what was it? It was one of those those TV shows that they do the reenactments of murders or whatever.
I can't remember.
It's one of those unsolved mysteries. Mm-hmm. So that night we were all in a little tiny room in a hotel room watching this, and it was sick. We're watching the description of a real murder, and it cuts to this fake arm falling off, and we all start cheering yeah, one of us made it. So that was kind of the beginning of this beautiful little friendship that we affectionately called the Blood Pack back then. But what impressed me about Paul even then is the theatrical nature of you selling your movies, because then when you did Grace, he would walk around with a dead baby.
I remember that very well.
And it's kind of like, who the hell is that guy? What's going on there? But I always respected and loved that about you, and thankfully your writing and films match up to that. So
thanks, bud.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So that's that.
So my intro to Paul.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Paul, welcome to This Is Your Life. Most of the interview is just going to be recollection.
We're just going to talk about you.
We're going to continue filleting you for a little while, and we'll get to the interview.
No, I started as a intern at Fangoria in 2005. And at the time, my God, I've been there for 10 years. Jesus Christ. But at the time, one of the very first things that they had us do was they teamed all of the interns into a committee. And we had to watch literally hundreds of shorts that were going to potentially be screened to be on Fango TV, which was in like its fledgling infancy right then. I don't even think we'd launched. Like we were brought in for the launch. And yours was one of the first we watched. And if I remember correctly, it was the first one we showed.
Cool.
So, yeah. On
cool,
Fango
very cool.
TV. So.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for that.
And my story. I was asleep and I had seen images of you on the internet. Something about the accent, the Jack Chop. Yeah. Actually, in all honesty, I'd never even heard of Jack Chop till about 3 nights ago.
I showed it to him.
And he showed it to me,
yeah.
and it's really,
I wanted
really
him
funny.
to see your range.
It was really,
it was
good, right?
Your range as an artist.
No, I tried. I don't know why you weren't on the show, but I did a show with Stacey a long time ago, and I had just seen Grace. And Grace was like one of the first. I was just telling Paul outside, but it's. And I told you this when I asked if Paul would come on at some point. It's one of those films that when I watched it, it wasn't the material. It's rare that I see this in horror films. I would say, maybe once every couple of years, where the direction of a movie is so clear and precise and so my bag, like I felt Lynchian and without being ambiguous, like Lynch has mystery and ambiguous. It's the same kind of aesthetic nature, very visceral. Mm-hmm. And I remember just watching this movie, going, hey, look, the subject material is like lots of other horror films, and yet it's being elevated in a way that's really, really compelling. And the only disappointment was that there wasn't a follow-up quick. Like for me, all I remember thinking is, I can't wait till next year where he gets to make this bigger movie, which hadn't been at that stage, and you'll tell us why. But it was really cool when you do see that, and especially when it's not someone you know. And it's taken I've been here, horror stuff here for 4 years, so it's funny that we're just meeting first time here today. But I don't know, that's an exciting thing. I think for me, I watch horror films for that reason, for a visceral reaction and to be pulled into a world. And if you can do it with material that is repulsive, it's that attraction repulsion, right? So you're dealing with repulsive material, but doing it in an attractive quality way of pulling it, kind of like Cronenberg, I guess.
Did you say you saw it before you had kids? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I definitely saw it before I had a kid. Yeah.
So it would be different.
It would be totally different. In fact, I should rewatch it because I haven't watched it since. But even now, once your kids are a little older, you're past it. It would have to be that perfect, like newborn, for that to be a really disturbing. I know Brian Collins was really disturbed by Annabelle, and I bet he's in that phase where that would really disturb him. But the first thing, and this is a lead-all question, just because we're on Grace, is did you see that story last week in Australia?
Which, by the way, that article's like 3 years old.
Hold on, I haven't seen this story last week in Australia. It's 3 years old.
It recirculates every 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Adam Green forwarded it to me. Yeah,
I thought that was
every time it comes back.
What is it?
No, I talked about it last week. It's about a newborn baby who died, and then they passed it to the mother, and she held onto it for 2 hours, and it came back to life, and breastfed it, and it came back to life. Now, whether it was ever really dead, I'm not there, so but I don't know. Was there inspiration? A story like that was any inspiration?
I mean, absolutely. That started with the medical science. I mean, it's it was more. Actually, it was really more about sort of like. Really started. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. It really started with. Just the idea that people make a decision to carry a baby that is definitively no longer alive to term. That was like, it's really distressing. It's like a room quieting. Like, when people are like, what's your movie about? You're like, you don't want me to fuck up your party. Don't make me talk about it here. It's just, but if you're, I've been watching horror movies since I was a little kid. I don't get disturbed that easily.
Right.
And when something gets me, I'm like, this is going to fuck people up.
Have you seen Retarditron?
I have not.
He was in Retarditron. I was in that.
I would take a run at that. I would take a run at that.
Talk to Mike Mendez.
I will talk to Mendez.
Right, so you're attracted to things that you yourself are not sure you can handle. Like, I don't know if I can handle that, so I should do that.
I just don't. I am attracted to things that, move me one way or the other.
Right.
And I don't know. It's like, sort of, I don't know if I sort of desensitized myself by, I was a horrified little kid, like to the point of like obsessive compulsive routines based on horror movies that I had watched at 4. Right. I really should not have been watching those movies that young.
That story, yeah.
Or maybe I should have. because here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We get to do this and fuck it. But as a kid, I can tell you I was really terrified. But it's very hard for me to get shaken up by movies. They're, kind of movies that get under my skin are well, it's funny. Body horror movies get, no, sorry for that pun there, but that's like,
Yeah.
Those are the movies that get to me. Movies like, something like Jacob's Ladder gets to me.
Yeah.
If I really care about the person and their circumstances are just deeply, deeply distressing, who's not going to be?
Right. Movies like Don't Look Now and things that have an emotional quality.
Yeah. Well, I remember when, it's the thing, like, I remember after Means to an End did, like, its run, and obviously, that's more of a horror comedy, so it's like, oh, I guess that's what he does. And then you just told me the whole concept was like, what if you were pregnant and you knew that it died and you still had to deliver it? And you use the analogy, sometimes if, a kid's trapped under a car, you'll have this incredible strength and lift the car. Like, same concept. What if you had that strength and you put it towards bringing your child back to life, like that kind of, that much willpower overdoing it. And I was like, well, that's pretty fucking deep, and at the time, you already had the script, and I read a few other things of yours. I know one was, I think, that Repeater script, which I thought was kind of neat.
Going way back.
Yeah, and I mean, because I do
nobody can go back as far as you do.
Well, I mean,
you're talking about Means to an End.
Well, this is important because again, it's not like, but the period between Grace and Dark Summer, it's not like you were just taking a vacation or whatever. You were a very meticulous writer that is always working on stuff, and I kind of wanted to delve into what you've been doing in between that period in terms of working on writing. But as far as Grace goes, I mean, I thought the smart thing you did, which warrants messaging, telling our fans, is that you knew you couldn't make the movie right away, but you were confident that you could make the first act into a really kick-ass short.
Yes.
And along with that and a script, a lot of people have since tried to do that sort of thing. But I thought that was a really smart way of doing it, because the way that your first act was structured was, well, what the fuck happens next? Which essentially is Grace is still alive. You're like, oh, wow. And what was great about, I don't take quote unquote credit for it, but because obviously you and Adam Green would have somehow crossed paths, I'm sure of it. But what was fun was I had met Adam at another convention, and we were already friends, and he had finished Hatchet. He just finished Spiral. He was looking for something. I was like, what are you doing next? And he's like, well, I'm exhausted. I cannot direct another movie for a little while. I'd love to produce something, but quite frankly, like, everything I read is not good, and there's nothing out there except this one short film I just saw called Grace. And I was like, oh, shit, you should read that script. I've read it. It's fucking great. And he's like, oh, really? What happens next? Don't tell me. And I was like, I will loop you in with that director. And I guarantee you're going to love that script. And thankfully, the rest is history. So checks in the mail, I hope.
Yeah. You have points so hard.
I pay him a percentage. I do.
Yeah.
Was the short different casting and everything different?
It was, yeah.
I haven't seen the short. I'll have to check it. Is it on the disc of Grace?
It was on a version of the disc.
Okay.
Somehow it didn't make it onto all of them.
I think it's online, right? Like on YouTube?
It's online somewhere.
We did a little commentary for Icons that I think is on YouTube, which I'll post.
Because casting's funny, because in a million years after seeing Jordan Ladd and other things, I never would have... I wouldn't have thought of her for that role, because she just, she's hot, and she kind of seems like very LA or something about her, not a mother at all. And yet in that context of the film, you pull it off. You make me believe and care about her, a different side of that actress who I'd never seen. And that's one of the great beauties of actors, is when somebody pushes them in a very different direction. Cool. And it still works, So casting in general is such a, nebulous thing, it's tricky. But I thought it was good, and I can't remember who played the woman who ran the center, but she was really great.
She is wonderful.
I'd have to see it again. I wish
Gabrielle Rose too is wonderful.
Yeah, I got to see it again.
It was a great cast. Malcolm Stewart. I mean, it was like the best Canadian character actors. Gabrielle Rose was like a, just like.
Was it shot in Canada?
Yeah. Did you guys?
Yeah, a place called Regina.
Yes.
Which I tried to call Regina for weeks. And
ironic, given the nature.
And finally, when I started calling it, I just surrendered. Okay, Regina. The rest of the American crew, it was time for them to come and prep, and then they were calling it Regina, and I was like, it's Regina. And so, right about the time we wrapped, we had all accepted. It's the city that rhymes with fun, is what they call it.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean,
they were great, by the way. I don't mean to put that. They're so wonderful. Yeah. They killed their film program.
No, there's a great little featurette on the Blu-ray that by our friend Adam Barnick who cut them. But it's of you at was it Sundance? Like, really, I mean, that's the thing. You even got to the point where, all right, your movie's playing at this prestigious festival, and most people would be like, great, I'm going to kick back and relax. You're on the fucking street handing out flyers all day long.
I didn't understand that all Sundance screenings are like going to be sold out. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things like, you fucking hustle.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever you're doing, whether you're, putting on punk rock shows or, whatever. I mean, it's like, if you really fucking care about something, you're going to fucking hustle.
I remember you at Fangoria's Weekend of Horrors. It was in LA. I guess it was the year that Grace came out, but it was the one that we did at the Javits Center, or not the Javits Center. What's the one down? The Staples.
It was at Burbank, no? Or was it at Staples?
It was at Staples Center, I remember. It was the big one. Because it was the one where they put us in like this entirely huge convention hall, and we were like a tiny little convention there.
Oh, it was very sad.
Yeah. It was weird because we were at the LA
not like the
convention.
Burbank days.
No, the Burbank days were great because then it was like we took over the hotel. This was very much like we'll give you guys this corner, and businessmen who make staplers in America is over here in this room, and it was it was very much a convention center. But I remember you walking around with the baby. So there was just literally, because I was at the Fango booth the entire time, and like every half an hour I'd see this guy walk past with a dead baby, and it was just
What was
awesome.
Devil's Due? Did you see that? I didn't see Devil's Due.
I did not see it.
But I know their whole thing was a gimmick trying to capitalize on
the baby and the
baby in the carriage. They did it in
just,
Times Square.
But then found footage, probably no one cared.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I guess my first question is, you hustled really hard, and the reviews were really, really good when that came out. So what kind of opportunities came from Grace? Like, did the hustling still have to go on immediately after, or did people see the film and really want to like, oh, what else you got? What do you want to do next? Like, what was the next step after that for you?
That's one of those things. It's like, I mean, a couple things happened. Like, first of all, the bottom dropped out of the economy. Like, we were mixing Grace while we were like, wow, this is, and you sort of kind of, there's this perception that we're kind of insulated from it in the entertainment business, but we're really not. Mm-hmm. Like, that really changed the business, and then the DVD market fell apart. So, so that was problematic. I mean, like, at the time I was like, okay, I know how I got a plan. I'm going to make short film. Learn from that. Going to make a better short film. Learn from that. Going to make a better short film. Few short films in, I'm going to, by then I'm going to have a good script. We'll get that thing done. I'll make a cheap movie. I'll really make it well. I'll kill myself. I wrote 80 fucking drafts of that movie. I prepped the fuck out of it. And the plan from there, you get your indie thing. It gets into Sundance. Holy shit, right? You're like, I'm here. I've arrived. We can do it, And then, then you're going to make a $4 million movie. Then you're going to make then you're in the studio system. But that's like kind of not exactly how things go anymore. Now, like, very difficult to get like a $4 million movie made. And so I was attached. I had been attached to, I mean, like, I don't know, like more than a dozen movies like that. We have gone through like the whole, thing.
Things that like, got made eventually without you, or not made at all?
Things that just didn't get made, making offers, the whole deal. And, and I write. I mean, I write to pay the bills. Like I'm a writer for hire. So I mean, that's really mostly what I've been doing over the last few years is like writing, learning how to work within the studio system, like learning, to work with other directors as a writer. But man, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I am a director. Like, it's one of those things, like, you're like, if it's been a while, you're like, fuck, like, do I even remember how to do this? And then the process starts and you go, oh, fuck, right. This is like why this is my purpose on the planet. Like, I am lost without this. Like, this is all I ever wanted to do.
It's really rough on people because I really do believe directing's a craft and it's an art form too, but it's such a bummer that it's a craft that's so fucking expensive to practice. And so you really do, unless you're Woody Allen, making a film a year, you're always going to be out of practice.
Although less and less so though, now with the, I mean, I have a camera in my trunk,
right?
Like, that, I mean, it sees in the dark. It's fucking amazing. You know what I mean? I'm in like I have a computer in my car. We could cut a movie on. We could color it. We could mix it. We could deliver it. Like, this is no fucking joke. So it really does end up coming down to, but it does end up coming down to craft.
Yeah,
it really does, because anyone can do that stuff. Anyone can fill, 105 pages with writing. But it's like, what is the fucking writing? You know what I mean? It's like, what's the black?
Was there ever a period where you almost like kind of succumb to like, well, everyone wants me to write, so maybe I should just keep doing this writing thing? It's.
I will, and I do. I mean, I don't have any. Believe me, I'm fucking hugely grateful to be a working writer. That took a long time to pull off. I did a lot of writing that I was not being paid for. I still do that. That's kind of how it works,
right?
But and that's awesome. That's awesome. Like, you learn a ton working with people. I got to write for Neil Marshall this year. Yeah. And I got to really know Neil and understand how he works, understand his... I mean, I knew Neil's sensibilities I probably as well as Neil does, just because I fucking love his movies.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, no, I think you I don't know. You sort of like just try to be grateful for what comes your way, and like, you have a plan, you do the footwork to pursue it, and then you sort of just let go of the results, and you try to treat people well and work hard, and what happens is sort of like, that's the film gods. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said this before. I tell this a lot to the guys that contribute to icons or anybody that asks for quote unquote writing advice. And this is a little different because I'm talking about the journalism side, but it applies to everything. I'm like, look, man, it's all about the work. Whatever perception people have of you online or whatever you put, fuck that. It's the work. That's what matters, is whatever you finish and post, it's all about the work. And I really, whether you know this or not, I really, not that I got it from you, but it became, there was one day that I came to have lunch with you and, a couple of years ago, and you're like, oh yeah, I was pitching this thing that's not going to happen, but it's based on a Twilight Zone episode or whatever. Do you want to see my pitch? And I'm like, yeah, all right. And you had this fucking elaborate, like 20-minute thing that you cut together. You wrote the whole script,
yeah.
And it didn't even happen. But like the meticulous detail and like the music cues you picked out and like the visual, like this is how I would make the story. And I was like, that is fucking insane. Like, you put that much effort into it, and you're like, yeah, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
So to people out there that are doing this, it's like, just focus on the work. And if you really have the desire to tell a story, you're going to do everything you can to tell it, even if it gets told or not. You know what I mean?
And that is still telling it. Like, I got to say, like, I've done a lot of pitching. You learn, that's like a big part of directing. You're still telling people a story. You're still in a room. You're watching their eyes. Are they listening? When are they not? When are they glazing over? Like, why didn't this work? Why doesn't this happen? And like, how much of this is just the business and the climate of how things work? How much of it is just chance? Like, those are all things I think that enable you to be like, okay, this isn't personal. Like, this is just like, it's fucking hard. It's a long road. And like, kind of thank God, because it takes a long time to get something great.
Yeah.
Did you have like a dream project that you wanted to follow up of like a smaller horror film type thing that you were working on for a long time that didn't get there in the end, or that you would go back to?
I had, 25 dream projects, man. I write every day,
Can people be contacting you to read these if they are looking for a project? Or are these all
I'm looking for financing. Anybody's got it? Drop a line to Prince of Potter Young or Paradigm, or fucking Facebook me. I don't care, like
whatever it takes.
But I mean, dude, that's the thing. Like, it's a real, like, for me to like maintain like it's a real balance, I think, like, between like, you have to be fully committed, like, to the point where like you're operating like, you know what I mean? I have to fall in love with everything. I have to fall in love with everything
to get it done.
It like really, like, even writing assignments to a great degree, I have to fall in love with it.
And is it genre stuff that you're doing, or is it all over the place?
I do all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, action stuff. I'm like, rewriting like a spy thriller. Right now, like, great big movie, which is terrific fun. Like, just you learn so much. I mean, like, suddenly you have to learn everything about Belarus. Like, I did another one where suddenly I had to learn everything about semi-submersible oil rigs. And the Coast Guard and parasitoids, and you know what I mean. It's like,
What's a parasitoid?
Gonna have to look it up.
He's doing the work for you.
You're gonna have to fall in love with it, Becca.
You gotta do
I
the
don't
research.
know if I'm falling in love with a parasitoid. We'll see what it is.
You might.
I'm looking.
Sounds up your alley.
I mean, that is an awesome part of writing professionally, because you're like, suddenly you're like, okay, and learn fast.
Right. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on projects that you haven't done or haven't gotten to yet, but I still feel the need to, a few important ones to mention along the way. I was trying to remember the name to Becca before, and it might have been one of your scripts that was on the blacklist. It wasn't there like the dogfighting one?
Yes.
What was the name of that?
Yeah, I wanted to hear about that one.
That's interesting. That project, it was a spec that I wrote. It used to be called BSH.
That's it.
Which stood for Brick Shithouse.
Yeah.
It was like, but it was sort of like a Reservoir Dogs meets Cujo kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I actually took the setup for that and turned it into a different piece, which is my current huge passion project.
Okay, I'm totally into parasitoids.
What did you find out, Becca?
They are a type of nematode or mite, usually, that attach themselves.
How did you not know this? That's your thing.
Insects are my things. These are the things that are the insects to insects.
Subdivision.
So it's like the small, I'm sure that most people know about like the mites that are killing honeybees and things like that.
Most of you. I think most of our listeners knew that fact.
It's common knowledge, kids.
Okay.
Cordyceps are good too. You should look those up.
Cordyceps?
Amazing. Yeah, those are beautiful.
I think like Paul's saying the sexiest words to
He
Becca.
is.
You're speaking her language, man.
Insect horror is kind of my favorite.
Cool. Yeah, me too. I have them in both my movies. I have insects actually.
Well, yeah. Hey, not just just since we're on that. How do you shoot insects? Because every time, both in Grace and in Dark Summer, I'm like, you can't get them to do what you want them to do.
We had a fly wrangler on Grace. I swear to God, her name was Flo. She had maggots in the fridge in a plastic thing that said Flo's maggots on it. It was like labeled just in case you were going to eat them.
Right.
I don't know. Just like these are Flo's.
Okay, cordyceps are way fun, guys. This is like,
Told you.
It's a parasitic fungi that grows on bugs.
Yeah, but it's better than that. It takes over their minds and drives them.
Oh yeah, the Rathacon.
It's very, very, very Con-esque.
Yeah.
Drives them up the plant to an optimal spore dissemination position.
It forces them to climb. Actually, I feel like that's an X-Files episode.
I think it was the inspiration for one, probably.
Okay,
How could it not be?
Yeah, I feel like that was one.
Aren't they great?
Yeah,
Cordyceps.
That's awesome. Cordyceps, guys.
I love them.
And the other one that I was telling Becca about before was you'd co-written with Jay, who we mentioned previously, The Invisible. I think it was called The Invisible.
It was just called Invisible.
It was your modern take on The Invisible Man, which I thought was one of the most beautifully written scripts that I've ever read in my life. Like, I was like, yes.
Yeah, we killed ourselves on that.
This is how you do the fucking Invisible Man today.
I'd still love to do that.
And there aren't copyrights around that still, or is it still universal, or is it detached enough that you can just make?
It's not a remake at all. It's just a story about a guy who's getting close to cracking the secret. It's very, very. We developed it with Aronofsky's company. It was like perfect protozoa script, and then. It's like they're mainly focused on his stuff. So after 2 years of development, they sort of cleaned the slate and moved on. We learned a fucking lot.
Do you still own it though?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Any of our producer friends out there listening?
I always do wonder about that in the business side of things. You sell scripts.
I would love to do that movie.
Yeah, it's great. Great script.
Selling scripts, but then that never get made. How long it takes before, if it was something you wanted back. I mean, I'm sure it's always different, 1 year, 5 years, but in general, is there a general amount of time that most company will buy something for? If they don't choose to make it?
Well, it depends if it's a studio. It's the money against it. So they'll wrap their overhead into it. So, if you have, they might say, okay, cool, we're going to move on. It's yours, free and clear. And then, you come to set it up somewhere else and they say, but we have overhead on that. It's be $150,000. The studio, you're probably looking at like $500,000.
But sometimes there's a time, I imagine, like a year or
there are options too.
Right, yeah.
Like if they haven't gotten too deep into it or you know what I mean? Like spent money on casting or if someone just options your script, then it just reverts to you. I mean, like that, I've had scripts optioned. I had one script optioned by 3 different parties, 3 months, 60 days, 30 days. And you just sort of like, I just sort of started getting like, if you're going to do it, like 30 days, you got to show me something going on.
That's interesting. Otherwise, I can always re-option it, right? Repay.
That's interesting. So how did Dark Summer happen? Because obviously you've been attached to all different types of projects. There was one I read about called The Faces, which I totally forgot.
God, I love that one.
Is that still something in the cards? Hopefully, maybe.
I'd love to make that movie. I'd love to make that movie.
So why did this one go when it did?
Ross Dinnerstein. Ross Dinnerstein's the producer. He's a fucking awesome producer. He's like no bullshit, great guy. He takes care of everybody. Like the same people work with him again and again. He tells you right up front what his business model is. Like, here are the limitations. Like, this is the material. Like, and he really respects the people he hires. He's very careful about it. Like, he vets the people that he hires very well. And then he's very hands off, unless you need him. And he's sort of behind the scenes facilitating. I mean, he's like a real deal trained professional film producer, like, USC grad, like he's a pro, it's not about the ego. He's a real deal producer. And he did that movie, The Pact, which did very well for them. And that business model, I mean, it made a ton of money. And so, the financier involved, very sophisticated, awesome guy, Jamie, who's been in the business forever, and just has really good taste, just a class act. He and Ross partnered up and they had this business model. I had pitched back and forth with Ross over the years. I always liked him and respected him. And we never got anything going. I had a general with him, and actually the woman who I had developed The Faces with at Film Nation, who had ended up leaving Film Nation and being hired by Ross and subsequently leaving there. But it's like sort of funny how that works. Like, you never really know. You just try to work really hard and treat people, like you would want to be treated, and you keep working with them. And so maybe The Faces goes away and something else comes of it, or who knows. But I ended up having a general with Ross and her, and they were like, we have this thing, it's called House Arrest. And I was like, might need to change the title, they were like, we're going to make this movie in 3 months, like we're going to do it, on a budget, significantly smaller than Grace. But you're going to have, creative freedom, and we will get you all the support we can. We have a great team, we'll get you whatever we can. It's a very small crew. He's very upfront about that, like what the limitations are. And, it's been a long time since I worked, to be perfectly frank, like I wanted to go make a movie, man. I really did. And there were some things like that I was like, this is a really interesting cinematic idea. Like, I don't get to be like a sort of purist, about some stuff, and I had just seen Spring Breakers too, where I was like, oh, what a great thing. Like, I'd heard so many people who didn't like really know anything about it, or Harmony Korine, like, being like, oh, that movie looks stupid. And so it's like, Spring Breakers is like terrifically interesting fucking piece of filmmaking. And like, fuck you if you're like, you know what I mean? If you don't, care to give it a shot, and I was like, that was very inspiring for me. I really left that just like, oh my God, I'm like hungry to like, so I want to go.
The idea of Harmony Korine with a movie in mainstream theaters was so out there to me that I just couldn't even believe it. I was like, really? Harmony's got this like big movie, and then you see it and you go, oh yeah, he pulled one over on everyone. Like, it's awesome, I
mean, it's terrific, down to the casting. It's really brilliant. And like, it is a statement in itself. Yeah. But like, I was like, okay, this, like, that kind of stuff changes my ideas about like, about the whole process, about narratives, about like what's really important, and what really, like, how do you not, you got to keep growing, like you got to work, And I was like, there are some things here that are very interesting, like Mike Leigh, who wrote it, had some twists that I did not see coming. Like, this is my job. Like, I always see that shit.
And for the record, not that Mike Leigh. Everyone who's listening, not that Mike, not the one making long-winded British drama.
No, Mike Leigh, L.E. He's a terrifically nice guy, really, really sweet guy, and like, there were some twists, and also like, ordinarily, like, ghosts and it's like very sort of familiar, and I don't know if that's. And then I was like, like, there are some things about this, like, I want to see if I can do something just do something new with that stuff. Like, you know, I remember being a teenager. I remember what that felt like. And it was like, everything was like, had this sort of like vibrating intensity, and the stakes like seemed so fucking high. Every relationship was like, oh, this is the end of the fucking world. Like if this doesn't work, you know, like, no, there, you can't even see beyond it. And I was like, that is ripe for cinematic interpretation. Like that vibrating, like that's like, I want to get into that. And then like, you know, there are all these things happening to the protagonist, and the protagonist is like, that's like always what sort of informs like the process, like all the stylistic choices, everything you're going to do. Like if that's speaking to me, then that's an interesting project and that's worth making. And he has all this shit happening to him, this protagonist, you know, like he's like, you know, he has extreme isolation, and he has this like strange condition, like this weird emerald green, like sort of oppressive condition. You know, like you know, it's like, was it
precast before you came on, or
no.
So you at least got to have that?
And
creative...
they gave me a lot of freedom. I mean, I read everybody of that age group in town, and I mean, I really, really worked at that. It was really, really important. Like we weren't going to do 6-pack ab 90210 casting. I mean, you know, really wanted. Like I remember what it was like being a kid, and it wasn't. And you know what it was like? It was like you weren't a kid.
Yeah,
that's what my kid.
I was like an adult. Yeah,
I knew way more then than I know now.
Yeah.
I was goddamn well convinced I knew more than you, and I did know a lot.
Yeah,
you know, 15-year-old fucking kid. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through a lot. There's a lot of crazy shit.
I also think it's because you don't ever see a ceiling either. So it's just you're living life with not really a limitation or a boundary. You're just going forward, and as soon as you become an adulthood, you see very clearly a ceiling. It doesn't mean you can't push it up higher, but you see it. You see some of the reality because you have to pay your rent. You have to do all these things. And that reality is, you know, it does kill something. You know, there is that spark that you're talking about, a vibrancy, which I think's interesting. I've always thought that's why a lot of first great films tend to be adolescent coming of age stories, because I think it's the one thing we can remember like that. Like right now, I cannot remember what I did yesterday. I can't remember what I ate last week, but I can remember who I was touching in a cinema at 14 or 15 years old and how that felt. And that electricity is instantly, and so to write about that, it makes a lot of sense. Or
you know
to
what I mean?
Yeah, I get that for sure.
And you don't see that done. Like you see a lot of teenagers in horror movies. They are very rarely real.
Right.
Yeah.
They are very,
it's
very
like
rare.
a caricature of what it was to be a teenager.
Yeah.
So we really worked at the casting. I mean, and we had this was a fucking incredible cast. I mean, everybody in the movie is fucking really, really, really great. Keir Gilchrist is the star. You know, he's on United States of Terror. He is no fucking joke. Keir is really wonderful. I mean, he's someone I want to work with again and again. Stella Maeve, she's like, you know, she's someone who I had met and just loved. Like, I loved her personally. I thought she was amazing. She'd like, you know, she's like, these people work so fucking hard. I mean, she had the room in like basically in tears. You know, like, you know, I mean, we read the fuck out of everybody, and she just like, I mean, just murdered everybody. And Grace Phipps is like, you know, Grace Phipps is a star. You know, Grace Phipps is a fucking star. What do you see? I've worked with Keir and Grace in this Tales of Halloween segment that I just did too, and they just, I mean, you know, we had like basically one day to shoot the drama, and they came in and fucking murdered everything. And then Maestro Harrell from The Wire. Yeah. You know, like I'm like,
I saw him and I was like, who is that kid? I know him.
Yeah, you know him.
I had to look it up and I was like, fucking Wire. That's
he
right.
walked into the room to read, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Maestro Harrell from The Wire? I was like, I love you. I was like, can we please put a pin in Maestro? Like,
wow. Was there
and then Stormare, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
See, I just assumed that Stormare came with the project. It's like, you can make this film, but you have to have Peter as your cop. Peter's going to be the cop. Yeah.
Oh, he's so great.
And
he's an interesting actor in general.
And I mean, was it because you're primarily used to working with material that you wrote yourself. So was it a little bit of a learning curve working with somebody else's pre-established material? Did you talk a lot with Mike about his script, or was it kind of like it just happened so fast? Because you said 3 months and they were making it.
The structure was there, and it was, you know, sort of already embraced by the team. So like from scene to scene, there was a lot of play. So I was able to do, you know, work on those, you know, dialogue and the scene structure from scene to scene. The overall structure of the movie, the overall conceit, you know, was sort of, like, you know, we like these scares, we don't want to change them. So it was like, okay, cool. Well, I've seen blink scares before, but how are we going to do this in a different way? You know?
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a great challenge. You know, I mean, it's definitely swinging up the weights on the bat, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you mentioned Tales of Halloween before, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, you got a segment coming up in that.
Yeah.
What was like the, you know...
Were you on his set? I know you guys were on a lot of sets.
I was not on his set, unfortunately. But I recommended his scripting, so hopefully that worked out.
She was terrific.
Yeah.
I love her. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, you know, we obviously, because we're friends with a lot of people involved, it seemed like a really cool idea. Like, let's get
it was a Western.
10 friends together.
Ew.
So yeah, what was your take on that? How'd you get involved and pitch your idea?
I don't think I pitched it. We didn't have to pitch.
Okay. You just kind of did it?
Yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
The costs were so low that it was sort of like, you know, Axel and Mike, you know, were like, these are people we want to use, and Epic was, you know, have a good relationship with Mike, and, you know, it's like everyone kind of knows everyone's work, and they're like, okay, cool. Can you do it within these, you know, constraints? And you're like, gulp, you know?
What a rarity. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Most anthology films, they make you kind of pitch your own segment before you can be a part of it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. No, this was cool. I mean, like, the mandate was like, it's got to have something to do with Halloween. And I was like, great, let me just delve into my any obscure, you know, weird, you know, cinematic fetishes I have. And, you know, I was like, let's see here. Like, Leone
Spaghetti Western
meets the Warriors. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's it. You know, like, so where's Halloween in here? You know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
What about sharing director's credit with people like Neil and Mike and all these? I mean, there's a lot of great filmmakers.
Guys, yeah.
And you shot here in LA, right?
In the worst hellholes. Yeah.
Where'd you shoot?
Downtown?
Well, of course. Downtown.
I had a wonderful producer came on just for mine, my friend Tata Che. It's an old friend who I hadn't worked with before, and he has a locations background. Like, he's like a locations legend. Like, they call him the Karate Kid because there's stories about him. I mean, he's like amazing. And he, you know, he had it clocked. You know, so we got some beautiful, I mean, it's really... We got a lot of production value out of it. I mean, it was so much fun. And Zoran came to, you know, Zoran Popovich
done all your movies at this point, right?
Yeah, he's like really my closest partner in crime.
Zoran and Austin, your composer.
Yes.
I see. I like that.
And Austin's doing the score.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, because that was my favorite part of the opening credits of Dark Summer is seeing their names because I don't know. That's when filmmakers have their crew, and then, you know, I mean, it's like John Carpenter, and you see Dean Cundy. You're like, all right, Dean Cundy shot this one again. So it's kind of neat that you have your DP and your composer.
I love those guys.
You kind of use. So
I'm so grateful that I have those guys. I mean, they're so great.
Yeah, Zoran shot The Lost, which I was telling you.
Yeah,
right?
which is a great looking movie too.
Is that the Jack Ketchum one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark's. Yeah.
Chris's movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Alrighty. So, well, how about we delve into body horror?
Which was a last minute change. Let's have full.
But you did a trivia.
No, this is actually probably my favorite topic.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
I had just been researching the other stuff, and extreme cinema, which was something we also were going to touch on. I realized it's never been my favorite, especially when it's just to be extreme.
Yeah,
that's usually like my biggest turnoff.
It's one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah. I love controversial cinema.
But that's the thing.
And cordyceps.
It would have been an interesting topic because I don't like a lot of them either. But it's like, but which ones work? Which ones don't? But whatever. We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we'll do.
Body horror skates that line.
Yeah, we have to do extreme cinema at some point because that's kind of
there is overlap.
Oh no, totally. In fact, a lot. I mean, I was thinking of things like Noe.
Your research will not go to waste.
That's right. Why'd you fuck me like this, man? But I did have a question for you, really off the back about body horror, which was because I didn't really ever think about this, but I just always grew up, and that term just very specifically meant Cronenberg and meant stuff that your body's changing. But in reality, when you actually start like researching what people use that term, it actually also means anything being done to the body. So basically there's these two strands of body horror, the one where it's coming from within the body and things are changing, which has always been what I love. Mm-hmm. And then there's Hostel and Salt are also body horror films because damage being done or destruction to the body, for all intents, is body horror because it's other kind of horror too. So I started realizing these two different, when you start looking at all the movies that fit under them, they are very different. Mm-hmm. One is far more fantastical, I guess, which is what I find interesting about horror, is that, imagining. So what, Manitou I watched last week and I reviewed on the show, but it's like the body horror, something is, a 400-year-old witch is growing from a cyst on your arm, fascinating.
Body horror.
But if it's somebody just cutting off your arm and slapping you in the face with their dick.
I think we can narrow down our definition a little bit.
All right, let's change it.
Because otherwise everything is in there.
Yeah.
Well, my question for you. So if you just Google body horror, the first thing that comes up is I did as well. The very first thing that comes up is a Wikipedia article on body horror, which lists like a couple dozen films that they deem body horror. On the list right there is 1981's Possession.
Yes.
Which I would have never considered a body horror. It's fucking amazing, but it's not a body horror.
That's body horror because it's coming from her. She's expelling the evil out of her body.
She sleeps with a partially formed...
that something's being created. No, I definitely think that's deep body horror to me.
I have memories of that as a kid, actually, that movie.
Yeah, I would say that one scene is, but just because she's fucking a monster, is it body horror? I was that was a weird one, like a gray area.
Well, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers because it's also forming into a replica of him, and she also aborted the evil from her body, or not aborted, but whatever it is, aborted from her body, and it's actually the evil. So I think, but I know what you mean, like you're thinking, I think if they're powerful enough, those sequences, which that scene is so infamous now, that it becomes relevant to be body horror.
That doesn't scream body horror to me the way that something like Altered States does, or like
because of
like
the when it comes out
Cronenberg.
as the blob.
I just want to talk about Saw and Hostel. So let's talk about Hostel.
Well, you know what about? I saw that same list and
Cabin Fever's on here too.
Cabin Fever's
great. Cabin Fever's got a lot of that's a body horror movie.
It's got the shaving
sure.
scene and
And what about Hellraiser? Hellraiser
absolutely. Hellraiser certainly has. No, I don't know about that. Just being torn to shreds.
I think it's more like the other
gross.
version. That would fit if we were talking about the two strands. I think it's a little more the other strand.
It does have a girl walking around without her skin on for the chunk of the movie.
Yeah, you know what? That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Frank.
Yeah.
That's a borderline. Yeah, but I mean, then you have weird ones and I think it doesn't work necessarily as a movie, but as a body horror film, it's really interesting to discuss Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Because as a body horror, it's really successful as a body horror. If as a standalone concept, take out all the camp and all the jokes about it. I remember being a kid before things were campy. Like as a kid, you don't view a film like that as campy.
Yeah, that's true.
When I saw that film, I didn't like, compared to the first one, I didn't like, but it's actually disturbed me a lot more than the others. And it's because he was coming out of the guy's body and the way he pushed out, that was like really disturbing to me. Yeah. And I think that's while I think it deviated a little from the legend of that what that storyline was building through the franchise, as a standalone concept is actually really effective. Horror literally coming from within, pushing itself out. You are the conduit of something awful coming into the world. It's I think it's really powerful, and it's something that would come when we're kids, maybe, that image of, it's not just something that's going to happen to us. Dracula's not just going to drain me by blood. Dracula, the motherfucker's going to come through my dream, come out of my stomach, and then fuck me. Yeah. That's fucking disturbing. Or fuck everyone I know and kill everyone, Yeah.
I
don't know. I think there's an interesting difference between those kind of films.
I'll give you that. I never would have thought of that, but I'll give you Nightmare too.
I think I always think of it as sort of more of like a loss of control. I think that's a big part of it for me, where it's something like that's what's distressing. You're like, this is happening despite you. Like, this is not, you don't have any control over this. This is something is happening to you. Like, oh, my fingernails are falling off of my body and I can't cut, this hair is so thick that I cannot cut it. And it's like, when I cut it hurts. It's fucking what the fuck?
Like The Fly.
We've all had moments like that. Like on a small scale, I feel like we've all had moments like that. Like, what the fuck is that thing growing on my arm?
And yet you never get scared. Moments. You get fascinated. When it's your body, you're not looking at, what is this? No, you get fascinated. Everyone wants to pop the pimple. Everyone wants to pull the vein.
One of my toenails fell out once. I was living in New York at the time, and I think I probably had stubbed it at some point and didn't even remember it. But the next morning, I just got up, I took off my sock, and my toenail came off. I lost my shit, and it wasn't even bleeding or anything. It was obviously I had just bumped it and damaged it.
You were getting better.
I called my dermatologist that day, and I was like, my toenails just fell off. I was in his office in 10 minutes, and he literally looked at it and was like, you dropped something on it, Becca. But
he's got a rabid poster on the wall. He's like,
I do not agree with you, Elric, because I once slammed my pinky into a door.
Well, that's pain. I'm not talking about pain.
No, but it turned black.
Yeah.
And I could see me that it wanted to fall off, and I was like, nope. And I just kept bandaging it up.
Okay, maybe I'm just a freak here.
And eventually,
oh my gosh,
what happened, because I kept it in place, my new nail grew underneath it.
Ooh.
Like, it was meant to fall off. And I was like, no, I don't want it to fall off.
You wanted to reseal?
And then you get that little baby nail.
I know you'll heal if you
You've
just
got a ghost twin nail somewhere in there.
Did you end up having to get the nail over top removed, or did it come off on its own?
By the time,
I need to hear the rest of the disgusting story.
By the time the new nail was like halfway through, the top was the old nail and it fell off.
Okay.
It essentially got forced out after it. But I tried to bandage it and keep it there as long as possible.
But I think what I mean is it's kind of what we're saying about attraction, repulsion of grace is the same kind of thing. Like when it's on us, like Jeff Goldblum said in The Fly, he sees something, he's like, oh, that's interesting, and he wants to poke around. But to an audience, it's the opposite. It's the repulsion, because it's like, oh my God, I can't. It's the visceral nature of the best shocks in horror often are those ones that are just like, oh God, it's just a nail falling off is usually more disturbing than a head getting cut off.
Oh, yeah.
The most
ocular
eyes are
very rough.
My number one was always fucking Hellraiser when the nail goes in. It's so simple. It's the start of the movie, but you see it coming. He's dragging the mattress. You see the nail. He's dragging the mattress.
Slices.
You see the nail. And then when it goes into, I feel like everyone has done that or stepped on the nail, and you feel that more than you would feel a major horror moment. And I feel like that's where you have to learn a lot from those little moments. Go, okay, things that are relatable, like that in the Achilles heel in Child's Play, I always say is like one of the ones where I felt most. I feel like everyone in the audience has never cut their Achilles. Everyone in the audience is just going,
no?
Yeah, Pet Sematary. Yeah, with the Achilles. I feel like that cut works so well because it's a part of our body we don't think about.
Oh, yeah.
But we all kind of know how that would feel.
Oh,
somehow.
That's a rough one.
Yeah, it is. It's really shocking, I think. But I guess, because this idea of your body being a source of fascination, even when something's going wrong, I guess... the big thing being, I was listening to somebody talk about OCD today on the on NPR, and what the guy was saying he suffered from. He's a writer, and he said the thing people don't know, that everybody who was OCD in the 80s, all they could think about 24/7 was not wanting to get AIDS. The people with that disorder, it was like 90% of people with OCD thought most of the time.
Those were the high stakes,
And they were so scared that if they even went to a restaurant,
and prior to that, it was nuclear war.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's these global issues, but because they can't turn their...
I'm intrigued.
I don't know, but they can't turn the thoughts off. Like, we all have these thoughts, but then we eventually, hopefully, can turn them off. They are unable mostly. And it was really interesting because I think so much of body horror, the great body horror, is timed exactly with that scare. Cronenberg beforehand, which is the amazing part with Shivers, is just kind of a few years before that became the kind of world global scare because people didn't understand it. But so much of the body horror does seem to go hand in hand with this fear of something which is genuinely terrifying when you think about it, especially if you didn't know how it was, if you didn't know the real medical science behind
what it is,
which people didn't for a long time.
Well, now people can Google it, which is horrific.
Yeah.
You see some terrible things when you Google what's going on. What's this
never
growing on? But
I always love when I Google diseases and things come up, and then I'm like, why am I even Googling this? I want to see what a rattlesnake bite looks like. Why did I fucking do this? I don't know, but you can't look away. Yeah. I'm going to scroll down and keep looking, of course. So
yeah, but I agree. I think to me, but the two types of body horror that are terrifying are when things are happening to your body or somebody that we're watching that are inexplicable and uncontrollable. Something growing out, some sort of disease, whatever it is, that's terrifying. It's like, what the fuck is that? How do I deal? There's no logical way to deal with this. I don't understand what to do with it. But also, and it's funny, this ties back to Moebius, which I saw, but also the body horror when you watch people do things that anybody can do, but you're horrified by the concept of them. In the movie Moebius, because some of the characters are castrated, they go online and realize that if you instigate some sort of pain sensation, such as scratching, to the point of bleeding on a certain part of your body, it will stimulate an orgasm. They are trying to figure out a way.
Hold on.
You can do it right now if you want.
Creep. Let's see if we get to the end of the show.
But I mean that idea, and again, this movie's so fucked up. Here you go, take the bottle opener. That idea of because they don't have their equipment anymore, and they're just like, oh, they looked up online. If I cause pain and scratch myself, and to a point, then it's like, well, how far can we take it? Because then later in the movie, and trust me, this is not spoilers. You're going to be shocked no matter what.
There's nothing else going on.
But later, when
it's kind of taxidermy-ish in the extremeness that it goes.
Well, at one point, there's like a sexual, like these two characters engaging in a sexual act. They may be mother and son, but that's beside the point. And the mother puts a knife it literally penetrates the skin, the back of the guy, and keeps rubbing that wound. And it's kind of like, it's just fucked up. That to me is the type of body horror.
I think that's the real South Korea. Gangnam Styles is
that's
the
what
surface.
They do, right? Yeah.
And that's the real thing, yeah.
You want to get off, just stab somebody and poke it, I guess. I don't know.
Have you ever seen anything that in body horror in a film that was like really caused you revulsion to the point where, I don't think I can watch this?
Taxidermia.
Have you seen
I haven't seen that one yet.
I had to end up stopping and starting. Like I couldn't watch it. I'm so glad I didn't see that in a theater because I would have had to walk out.
The storylines in that are interesting there.
It's one of the ones that I would have had to be like, I can't watch this. I mean, I could. I wouldn't want to.
Well, sometimes it's the age we are. Because, of course, I mean, now I love Cronenberg's The Fly. But when I was a kid and I saw that, like, it was one of those, oh my God, he's going to vomit on his food. I can't watch that at all. You know, you just start freaking out.
The part for me is the end where he vomits on the guy.
That
still grosses me out. Like, it's great.
That's a brilliant movie.
I have a friend, I'm not going to call them out on this, but they told, and I didn't understand it at first, but once they explained it to me, it kind of made sense. One of the movies that was on that list was From Beyond, the Stuart Gordon movie, which is a very gross, gooey, all sorts of stuff. I have a friend who may or may not have been on the show at one point that's very into horror that has admitted to me. Stuart. That has admitted to me that they cannot watch that movie. They can't even look at pictures from it because there's just something.
The slimy one.
Oh yeah, the slimy dog.
Slither has got that same.
Slither, Society is the ultimate when it comes to.
Let's
all just become one big asshole, one big shunted.
Oh god,
the idea of one
even
flesh.
The shunting.
Well, the idea of one flesh is really gross to me. Like an orgy, I feel like orgies, sex with more than one person, I've never been able to, like, I couldn't even get my head around a threesome. I had a college opportunity once, totally didn't know what to do.
He did not.
No, I literally looked at the two people and I was like, I don't doubt it.
Come on.
I didn't even know
that Kiwi accent.
I didn't even know, it was in America. I didn't even know what to do with it. I was just like, I don't even know where to start. But the idea of all these bodies melding together.
Like, just now getting visuals of Elric standing there going, I don't know
any
what
more
to
than
do,
2 or 3 assholes and I'm all fucked up. But no, there's something about bodies all going together and the gooiness and going, this is somehow really repulsive to me.
You need to tell Paul, how old were you when you saw Dead Ringers again?
Oh yeah, that was the one that really fucked me up. Young, like maybe 7.
He saw it at 7 on TV and was terrified of women for a long time.
Well, it was just I was terrified of going it made me weird about sex. Like, I was like, where's the extra hole? I was always thinking, where's the extra hole? Do I need that tool to go in? I mean, is that a requirement? Flashlight? What's going on
that's
here?
like serious trauma. That's that would really mess up your
right.
It did. I used the jaws of life the first time I went down there.
You were relieved, probably.
It actually worked out really well.
I want those tools for operating on you. Dead Ringers is one of my very
I haven't
favorites.
even probably seen it since. I got to see it again, but I remember being really. I think certain movies, if you see them, especially those really adult ones, man, they can fuck you up.
Yeah, I saw that one very young
intense.
too. Actually, I remember that and being like, what is like just kind of just
and the shared sack. They had a shared sack, and once I think it was a dream scene, and she bites into it, and just like. That's when the body horror gets to something that you're kind of terrified of because you don't know what it is. It's the other. It's that concept of what is other to being a person outside of you, but part of you.
That movie's rules are so interesting. Like it's like you're just like, where the fuck are we going? Yeah. And then they're like, when they're I don't want to give any spoilers. When they're like. We have to inject now, or we'll get sick. They walk by the camera, they wipe.
I also thought it was all British people. So I thought it was British people and women. I was just terrified of both.
I did see Dead Ringers. It wasn't until I was living in New York and I did, we have the death tour here in LA where they take you around and show you all the macabre sites of LA. They have something similar in New York and they actually take you to the 2 guys' apartment in New York and show you where the real guys that it was based off of lived. And that's when I saw it. I had never actually seen it at that point. So I was like in my 20s. I was probably like 21, 22 by the time I saw it. And I was just like, not my favorite Cronenberg. It's a cool story. It's a cool concept, but maybe it's just because I'm a female and I've seen vaginas.
Well, also you know what a gynecologist is, like from a practical level.
And they all wear like red operating uniforms. And
I mean, it's like it's no worse than like a killer dentist.
Do doctors
movie.
become just doctors, or do they actually specialize like while they're training in gynecology?
They specialize while they're training,
like early on. Yeah, early on. Yeah. I always assumed you have to be a doctor first, so they knew you're legit. You're not just some.
You just get in a line at the end, and they go. gynecologist.
No, it's
proctologist.
like you pick that at medical school, like what you're going to focus in, and you can say gynecology or obstetrics and things like that.
It's interesting. Hell of a way to make a living. I don't know. Should we talk about the, what was that misogynist movie from last week?
The Canal.
That'd be a lot more comfortable than talking about...
No, but I definitely think that the female body parts, just because they, for some reason, have always been presented with this air of mystery, they do pop up quite a bit in body horror, more so than the penis does.
But it's not for unknown reasons. To me, it totally makes sense because it is more mysterious because it's internal versus external.
Yeah, they are a lot more complex.
You don't see them. You don't see them, so you have to imagine rather than a phallic symbol is literally just saying you can see.
I remember this quote once that was like, women have vagina and therefore they turn inward and think inward thoughts. And guys have a penis and just knock things over with
I think they nailed it.
And that's kind of it, yeah.
Done. Humanity, done. Thanks, Freud. Thanks for all your work, Freud. What a waste of time that was. And also you like rose petals because they kind of look like that in people's ears.
It's a very pretty part.
Right.
I don't know. So, yeah, but I mean, you do see them come up like Teeth I consider that to be a body horror. It's one of my favorite movies as well.
Definitely.
So.
And it's a really great concept. I mean, that's one of those ones where even the concept's even better than the movie can be because you're like, oh yeah, of course.
I mean,
that's a great fear.
The trailer for going to the gynecologist and him just sticking his finger in, like that teaser trailer alone is
fantastic. The movie is
brilliant.
so well handled because I remember when somebody first told, it was actually Dee Snider because I was working for him at the time, was like, I don't know, it's a film about vagina dentata. She's got teeth in her. And I was like, what? Is this like a trauma film? And then you see it and it's surprisingly sensitive and poetic. Yeah. So it's kind of a beautiful body horror. I like that one a lot.
Wow. One I looked up was The Incredible Melting Man, which I actually had never seen. Never saw it until I think Scream Factory put it out about a year or two ago.
Edition.
It's pretty cool. I mean, Rick Baker effects. It's got what does he go to the moon or whatever?
Yeah, he comes. I've never thought it was a very good film, but the effects are great.
What's that?
Goes to the moon.
Yeah, and then he goes to the moon, gets infected, and come back and is literally slowly deteriorating.
Yeah, the effects are really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a strong movie. But
it's not a strong movie.
The concept and the effects are kind of, know.
Yeah. But when you think about another thing about, no one ever talks about this as body horror, but like I'm thinking about like the ultimate body horror, and it probably is where a lot of this starts, is fucking any werewolf story.
It's
because your whole body is just being wrecked.
What about Under the Skin? I mean, look at that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is that amazing, beautiful French movie about the woman that becomes obsessed with her wounds?
In My Skin, and that's my number one.
Love that movie.
When it comes to horror, when it comes to
she's an
revulsion,
amazing director.
Yeah, Maria Van Den.
I met her
I've followed her for years.
She's super sweet.
Yeah,
her other movies were terrific too.
Yeah, all her shorts are really good too. She has shorts on that film though. Is like it's the only film I showed that when I was at film school, and I kind of ran the cinema club, and it's the only film I ever showed of any kind that people were having to leave. People had to pass out because
that scene where they're
when she's cutting and
no. You know what the best scene?
Dinner table.
Yes,
it's best scene.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
I had to stop.
There's an amazing.
I didn't make it through.
See, that'll tell you something. I mean, this is a pro here. Like this is a distressing movie. This is an amazing scene. There's no spoilers here. It's a great scene where she's like, they're out to dinner, like it's a sophisticated, people, intelligentsia type crowd. They're having a nice dinner out, like group of 8, and they're like drinking wine, and she's sort of like, kind of sinking into herself, and she's like, she like looks down at her arms, and like they just kind of like she realizes that. Like she kind of sits back and they're like not connected and they're just like
I can't remember if it's both or just one. It's both. Perfect. It's perfectly off.
And it's not like they're cut off. They're just like this smooth nothing.
Yeah, it's really.
And she's like, oh my fucking. It's
scary.
I mean, association.
And she's the actress. The director is acting in that piece.
She's amazing.
But it's about getting an. She just like cuts herself at a party.
I gotta see it.
She has a big scar on her leg and just becomes obsessed with the scar and keeps picking at it. And that leads to this whole her whole life being undone. And I remember seeing that, this is like 10 years when it came out, and I just stumbled upon it. And for the longest time, I'd always look her up, like, I wonder what she's doing. She was the assistant and the writer for Francois Ozon, who was quite a successful non-horror, just made a lot of art house films, and she got a chance to make her own. But it's It's really quite disturbing. It's hard to disturb me. That and Gaspar Noé's stuff like I Stand Alone, his first films, that were all coming out at the start, before Irreversible, before French extremism kind of was labeled because of Irreversible. But I Stand Alone is a more effective film. That film's disturbing. Oh, yeah. Like when we're talking about extreme cinema, that would be the first out of my head, because it's just like, whoa.
And I think that like my tolerance to body horror depends a lot on presentation, because you're right. I probably could watch Retardatron because it's not exactly handled in any type of sensitive light. And it's the same reason that I'm fine with Troma, or I can watch.
Or The Thing. You would be just like, you're having fun watching Thing because it's playful.
Or like I have no problem with the guinea pig films and things like that. But it's when it's sensitive and it's presented in much more of a character study and much more of a realistic portrayal.
Which is what horror should be.
Like it wasn't in Under the Skin. What was it called?
In My Skin.
In My Skin. Thank you. That one, like, it bothered me. And it's one of those
that's when it's a real movie, not just a horror movie.
Stop it and I'll come back to it. And I never did. Like,
I really think that's the big difference between great filmmaking, great horror films, and just horror films. Like the difference of, oh no, I'm going to present this great concept within the framework of a great character that you care about. When you're doing that, you're nailing on all fronts, but most films aren't. Most films are doing, oh, I've got this really torture thing, and here's a great torture scene. Well, I don't give a fuck because I don't know who they are, don't care who they are, and now they're dead. Looks fun. I can watch it for 2 minutes.
I can't wait for them to die. Then the fun just becomes about the titillation of like, okay, well.
And you can only do that how many times? Like how many Friday 13th? You can do it 13 times. And, by 3, you're like, all right. But here would be the challenge. And this challenge of all filmmakers. Hey, you're doing Friday 13th part 7. Hey, make us care. Now, if you could write great characters and make it really good, maybe suddenly we'll be scared of Jason again instead of be funny or rooting for him. And I think that's the challenge with all these remakes. It's like, hey, if you're going to take one on, go back and try to scare us. Because if you don't, I don't want to see it anymore. It's and I think that is a hard challenge because they've become icons. But I don't think it can't be impossible, right? I mean, just make it found footage and gold.
Yeah,
that's right.
$40 million found footage film, you're golden.
And in terms of recently, I feel like we have to mention American Mary, which that was a pretty. It's pretty rad. It's pretty gnarly.
Body
some gnarly
modification
shit that happens in there. Yeah, a lot of body modification.
But that's a little closer to me to the Hostel type version than the. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I agree. I thought it was like I was surprised how effective, but it definitely is closer to things being done to your body and altering.
Well, I thought there's a fun scene. They cameo in it themselves because they're twins. They've got a fun scene where they cameo and Catherine Isabel, the lead character, is kind of this surgeon that's doing these sort of off the books kind of body modification experiments. So they have cameos, these two girls that are twins that want to be closer to each other. So what they want is they want their arms cut off and swapped. They want each other's arms. And I thought that, this is like
that is really interesting.
Like a 2-minute scene in the movie, but I just like, oh man, that's really
I could see a whole movie about twins doing that.
Like twins wanting to do that. But no, I thought that was a really effective one. Yeah. At least in recent years.
Tusk. I mean,
which you just watched?
Which I just watched, and we were talking about it online today on the Killer POV site, and I think that most of our listeners agreed with me where it's like batshit tonally, it's all over the place.
They're divided.
But,
I thought that, I haven't seen it yet.
It's a very dividing movie.
I was divided about the trailer.
Yeah.
First half I liked, second half I didn't like.
And I mean, it literally is kind of Inspector Clouseau and a body horror, and the two don't.
That sounds kind of amazing.
It's bizarre. It's very bizarre.
You just sold Paul up.
You gotta see it because it really is just Johnny Depp playing Inspector Clouseau and a body horror, a very serious body horror that's almost absurdist at the same time because he is making a walrus. So it's very strange, but it is definitely a body horror.
I mean, I think the greatest of all time, besides The Fly, I would say the most important body horror that doesn't often get discussed in that terms is Alien, because you're physically an incubator for this thing.
Yes, that's
they're using you, and that is terrifying. And also, it's body horror in the sense that the alien itself takes on the form, like a little bit of your form, right? Because when it comes out of a dog in part 3, it like scuttles. And it'd be interesting to seeing how they could push that further. But I'll never forget, that first time you see that movie, and I bet most of us are pretty young, when Kane, I think it's Kane, John Hurt's character, when suddenly he's coughing, and it's really
that is the terrifying scene you remember. That is the whole movie. Think about,
that's the terrifying.
It's the body horror where he loses control. It's just like he starts
coughing. He's sick.
Oh God!
It's crazy.
That first burst of blood before anything. You just see it. You know something's coming. You're like, oh shit.
Oh my God!
And the fact that something goes on your mouth. And I think a lot of people,
yes.
and we all have weird phobias about our body. Like, for me, I don't like hands near my neck. Like, I don't, this sounds weird. Like, you know, because a lot of the times when I was having these threesomes in college, you know, these girls, they try, hey, check them, or whatever.
Most people are fine with hands around them.
Yeah, but I don't feel comfortable with anything even touching my, like, Adam's apple or something. So I feel like if I was doing body horror saying around here, but some people,
poke him in
we
it.
all have weird things. Some people have their eyes. I can't touch my eyes. Oh my God, contact lenses. I can't touch my eyes. Other people go, oh, toenails make me feel. So I feel like body horror is so specific. I mean, even Tarantino wouldn't touch her feet that time. You remember when you burst the toenail?
I don't remember this.
Anyway.
No, I know. Okay. This is a weird one. I don't like to when my eyebrows go the wrong way. I know this is strange, but like the hair on your eyebrow, you know how it's like it all goes one way. If it's going, like, if I accidentally brush it against
that's going to be the least scary horror movie I've ever seen.
I know, but it's my weird body thing where I'm like, I don't like my eyebrows to go the wrong way.
Follicles. Rebekah McKendry's bloody new heart. That's gone the wrong way.
No, but I definitely do have a thing about my toenails that I never knew until I took my sock off one morning and a toenail fell out. And then I was like, holy
that's
fuck,
distressing.
I'm freaking out.
But you have parts of your body that, like, or maybe, I don't know, body, I mean, contracted, we've discussed on show, for me, that film didn't work, but just for me, but the concept of it, I loved. And I was really excited. I just feel like, he's a young director. And so it's like, it was dealing with pretty advanced things about sexuality and stuff. But like, it at least reminded me in its concept of what Cronenberg was looking at and like trying to study in that series of films. And I was glad that it's still alive and people are still interested in that stuff. Walking Dead on a big scale is kind of doing it in front of the public without people even noticing the idea of people are rotting. There's further decay. Some characters are early. The idea of when we first saw Dawn of the Dead and people are changed for the first time. Is it Roger or whatever the character? It's shocking. Like even though you've seen it a bunch of other times, but when it's someone suddenly it's shocking.
When that elevator door opens and you see him.
Aren't those the most disturbing things? If you really think about, like, yes, there was all these moments in those movies that you fucking love, and Alien and that, obviously, like, but really, like, when you think about, like, what was the stuff that like stopped you, and you were like, oh fuck.
Number one is
it's always that.
For me, it's the part in the thing where they put their arms in
breaks open
and the teeth. It took me so by surprise. Didn't see that scene coming in a million years, and you're just like, whoa,
fucking great.
And that's, I guess, what I mean by the fantastic and horror. Like, if you're in body horror, that's a scene that can, if you're sitting at home writing, you don't know if anyone can actually do that scene, and yet then somebody visualizes that, and it's just glorious. You're like, it's as good as it gets.
As a kid, I haven't seen The Company of Wolves in years.
I haven't seen that for a long time.
That is a good one.
Good transformation.
But I remember, when I was a kid, I used to draw werewolves all the time, and I always loved American Werewolf in London, obviously. But I was so fascinated, and I would draw it all the time. That cover where it's like the wolf snout is coming out of his mouth. Is that what the transformation is like in there?
I can't remember the actual transformation. I just remember
I like the idea of just
which one is like that,
and then that comes out. Something's coming out from inside.
It's exactly that in Eli Roth's first episode of that show.
Oh, Hemlock Grove.
And I tried getting in the show, just never got it. But the werewolf effect in that first episode is astounding. It's literally that. It's like the skin coming out. It's coming out of the skin. I remember going, oh wow. Like, the drama I just couldn't get into, but it's interesting.
I like the idea of a painful transformation into something else.
When I was a kid, I really liked the movie Leviathan for body horror.
Yes, absolutely.
Such a good one. And now that I'm an adult, I can see, why the movie was kind of poorly received and that it does have these flaws at the end because you've got this giant latexy face.
No, but he shot the basket. He shot the grenade through. Say, motherfucker.
Say, motherfucker.
He even had the follow through. Peter Weller even had.
There's this scene where I don't even remember her name, but I think it wasn't.
Reba, with the curly hair.
I want to say Reba McEntire, but it wasn't.
No.
It was her, but it looked like her. But anyway, she's walking through and she realizes that her hair is falling out, and she walks in and she says, "6-pack, my hair's all falling out." And she's literally holding clumps. And that scene freaked me out. And then she looks down at her arm and she sees like a little worm thing in it. And that scene just did it for me right there. Like,
I fucking loved that movie as a kid. I loved it. The Russian vodka was so great.
Yeah.
Rob hasn't talked about one of his favorite movies, and you might not have thought of it as body horror. Excision.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Big time. And a different version, but this idea of somebody. She's changing physically, but she's also gonna commit surgery.
She wants nothing more than to be able to perform surgeries on people, in particular, a little sister. who she wants to save.
Yeah.
So
and she gets nastier as the movie goes.
Have you seen it? Excision?
No, I have a screener. I got to watch that.
Love it, and I love Ricky Bates. So there we go.
But there's so many. I mean, I think there's like it would take forever to go through them. But there's just so many like Basket Case and things like that.
Hell yeah!
Basket Case is a great one.
There's
because it's all about surgery. It's you're getting revenge on all the people who did this thing that they're thinking they're helping you. But they've now separated you, and now you're getting revenge for them doing this to you. And I think that's really interesting, too.
It's a formative movie for me.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very important movie in my life. Basket Case.
I've never met Helen Wilder. Have you met him?
I never met him. I'd love to meet him.
He's great.
I would be more starstruck meeting him than meeting anyone else, probably.
That's so awesome.
He's just a fun guy.
Yeah. I met Mike. And I was like, it's Mickey.
Well, see, I met Mickey too, and he was wearing, I told this story
Sunglasses.
A couple of weeks ago. He was wearing a full red leather tracksuit like Eddie Murphy Raw.
He's like the baddest dude on the planet.
He was chain smoking, and I have this picture. I need to post it up online. And because when you meet somebody, you take a picture with them. He was doing interviews for something in New York. I think it was like a cartoon he had directed, and he was like a kids fest or something, because it's Mickey and he does everything. And in the picture, he's standing there perfectly straight, not touching me, very straight faced with a cigarette sticking out. And I'm behind him with like this biggest grin on my face. Like I'm just meeting the greatest person in the world. And it's just the silliest looking picture.
Mickey picture. Except he's not in red.
What was your story meeting him? Were you able to talk to him? Because Mickey is one of your favorite directors, right?
I fucking love him. By the way, Gozu has a pretty great body horror movie.
I still haven't seen Gozu. I've always been tempted to pick that one up. I'll watch that. Is it fun?
Okay.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I have strange taste. Intense. I love it. Yeah. I'm crazy for Mickey. I was so like, oh my God. I met him and Guillermo del Toro on the same night years ago. Like, and I was just like, I can't believe it. Mickey was with his translator. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, there was no conversation.
What's the film he acts in? He acts in an interesting, is it a Tsukamoto film? I think
Eli put him in a movie.
He's in Hostel too.
Yeah, but I think he's got I know Shinya Tsukamoto. Well, one film we haven't talked about. One of my favorites is Tetsuo. And I think those guys sometimes act in each other's thing. I know Shinya, the director, acts in a bunch of stuff.
Does he?
But and his own ones too. Snake of June is another creepy, weird movie.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's early, and he's acts in that. But I have a feeling Mike. We'll have to look it up if Mike was ever in one of his films. But that's more of a case where I wasn't like grossed out or horrified when I saw Tetsu. I was more just like, holy fucking shit, this is balls to the wall.
I was so excited about that movie.
It's just pure visual, like it's like the definition of a cult movie. Like you just see this movie and like, yep, this guy made it in a vacuum and here's my movie.
Yeah, Pie too, man.
Oh, yeah, no, and they're similar. I feel like there is a similarity.
They're absolutely
they do feel like they're made in the same kind of vacuum.
Yeah. But there are a lot of, I like them, Japanese body horrors that came out within the past 10 years. Ones like Meatball Machine. No one's seen
I still
these.
laugh at that title.
It's surprisingly.
It probably sounds awome in Japanese.
Yeah, right. It's a cult where you cut your eyes out to see the true nature.
I'm in.
It's kind of
Suicide Club has great body horror.
Yeah, it does.
That's a good one.
They've got some fascinating. I've mentioned it on the show before, but Tokyo Gore Police is a future where people have discovered a drug that when they cut themselves, they'll evolve. So, like, I could cut off my arm and I'll grow a giant hammer. And so criminals will do this, and then there's a squad of people whose job it is to fight these people who can morph into things. So it's a cool I mean, it's presented in a very silly light. Well, somewhat silly light. Yeah, it's over the top, but it's a cool concept, and the effects are really cool. There's actually one that's coming out that I saw a shortened version of at AFM this year called Parasite, which is based off a manga, Parasite with a Y. And the trailer for it looks awesome. And what I saw at AFM looked great too. So I'm kind of excited. I know that Disney was, or not, they were going to do it in America. And I want to say Disney was attached. It might be like Pixar or somebody like that. But it was like they were presenting it towards kids. But it's a really popular manga.
Parasite?
Parasite with a Y. I got to look it up.
By Disney.
By Pixar.
I won't say kids.
For kids.
I'll say
what is that pitch?
How about that? Not kids. Teens.
Do you have
specify that?
Do you have any favorite Mickey within the deep? Like, obviously, I think Audition's fucking master. Like, to me, that's Criterion Collection level. But any of the ones that kind of maybe went under people's radars that we should look at?
There are so many. He's so prolific.
Visitor Q's bad shit, but
I love Visitor Q.
Yeah,
I mean, my favorite Mike is Ichi the Killer. I mean, it always, it's like, I mean, Audition is obviously like a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, it's just a great movie either way you look at it.
What else? Visitor Q is terrific. I mean, look, there's a reason everyone's heard of those. They're brilliant. I mean, they're all brilliant. I don't. What else, Rob? What are the more obscure Mike movies?
We're speculating on how many movies he made in his most prolific year, and I think it's like must be 9 or something.
He's made like 70 movies or something.
Yeah, but I think in 1 year, at one point in his career, a little bit after Audition, I think I read an interview where he's going, I made. They're asking him a question about a film. He's like, I don't remember, like Happiness of categories.
There's one. That's
I made 9
one.
films this year.
Well, my favorite thing was I think when Imprint, his version of Master.
Yes, they wouldn't even run it, right?
That was insane.
They didn't run it. It only came out on DVD. And me and me and Gialvino were talking to Mick Garris about it, and we're like,
what happened, Nick?
We were like, you know what? When Billy Drago is the least weirdest thing about your short, you made a fucked up movie.
And also, unfortunately, in a way, you look back at it and go, but they all should have been. That's where they all should have been pitched. Yeah. To really blow the lid off a horror TV thing like that on HBO. Yeah. You might as well go all in on that.
I misspoke, guys. It was not Disney that had Parasite originally. It was Henson.
Okay.
I was close. Well, technically, Henson is Disney.
Are they?
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Disney owns Henson. Okay, yeah. But it was Henson that had it.
I got to say,
favorite Cronenberg?
Neither of those make any sense to me.
Do you have a favorite Cronenberg?
Oh God, that's a very big, difficult question for me. I mean, I literally, look. I mean, I'm very partial to Videodrome.
Yeah, gotta go with the drone.
Very creative, for sure.
But I love the early one. I mean, I love Rabbit.
Yeah.
I love
Shivers.
I mean, obviously.
I've been dying to revisit The Brood.
The Brood, dude. Awesome. I mean, with those little snowsuits, are you kidding me? Like, what? That movie's amazing.
I've mentioned that in articles before. So we made these little mutant kids. We're going to want to get them matching pajamas and snowsuits because we got to put them in something. And so, they're all running around in these like matching pajamas and snowsuits with hammers. Like somebody went shopping for the little
Montauk
mutant kids.
I love that.
They're all from Montauk.
I love that.
To me, it's the feeding scene where she lifts up and she's feeding them all. That's the kind of revulsion that really freaks me out. I don't know what it is. It's saying about the body feeding.
She's not feeding. She's making one.
No. I think there's one part where she's feeding them. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember
that. I
just remember that I feel like she's making one, and
that's what you're remembering.
And pulls it out.
It could be.
So
she does feed them.
I feel like there must be. Maybe there is that scene where she is wearing white and she lifts her arms.
Yeah, and then she's got the sack, and then she rips it open and pulls the kid
whatever
out.
it was. Some fucked up shit.
Were there movies like when you were doing Grace, obviously, which had a body horror element? Did you make somebody like Jordan watch these type of movies to get his mind?
I cannot remember.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the work with Jordan was more real world stuff. Like she wasn't a mom, and so we looked at what is it like to to become, and what is it like to have a child? What is the I mean,
that in itself is the most Cronenbergian thing ever.
Yeah,
so.
Did she ever have a kid? I'm so curious if doing a movie like that would stop you or push you.
No.
That'd be interesting. It'd be hard to go through the pain of going through the real emotions of pretending to have a child that you have to bring back to life in that way. It must be pretty.
She was great, with that stuff, and we really did a lot of work. Like, she spent a lot of time with midwives, and she really learned the whole process.
She feels real in that film. I haven't seen her in much since that, which I thought was weird because I remember seeing that going, oh, cool. She has range, and kind of reminded me of Kim Basinger in a way.
Oh, definitely.
And her kind of, it's almost like a slightly daisy quality about her. But, it's always weird how people, you see them one thing and you don't see them again. And
what movie I came across today that I completely forgot about, but I really liked it when I saw it. Do you guys remember Virus? From 1999, I think it had Jamie Lee Curtis.
It was like Deep Rising.
Yeah, it was like on a boat.
Yeah,
which makes sense why I liked it.
It's another
because it's aquatic horror. But
really
I
bad.
completely.
That's a good. You've done that already.
Donald Sutherland.
No, yet.
That's a great subject.
That's another one of my favorite
down for that. I'm all about
Leviathan.
I thought we did that. Oh, we
Deep Star Six.
We talk about all these movies every episode, so I don't know. I think we've talked about every aquatic film at least some point, like Dagon. I think
you can put them together.
It'd be hard to find some new ground there, but we should.
Well, we haven't mentioned Virus yet, but I came across this one today because I was like, oh yeah, like robotic aliens build things out of dead people. But I rememred I liked it the first time I saw it, but I haven't seen it since then.
I think he is.
I don't remember.
I remember it being bad, but maybe it was right around the same time as Deep Rising, so anything in life's possible around that time. And just kind of what Paul was saying at the start of the show. that's when movies were being made, like big movies from a big horror film. Stupid ideas. We got a monster on a boat.
Supernova.
Here's $20 million. Go make a big horror film. Well, that's a great movie.
I'm currently, we've been talking about it on Twitter because I'm doing some stuff with it for our Valentine's Day edition of Fango. I'm determined that Event Horizon is a romance film. I'll talk about that closer to Valentine's Day. But that's definitely a body horror, actually.
Okay. I Am Home. That's all you need to know.
Anyway, I love that movie. What a great fucked up movie.
The crap out of me the first time I saw it because I wasn't expecting it because the trailer only made it look like a sci-fi movie. Then I went to the theater like, it's going to be about going into a black hole. What the fuck? They're eating themselves.
That's why I thought Boogie Nights and Inherent Vice were such a left-hand turn for him as a director. Like, I was so surprised when he started doing like Sucker Punch at least had.
Wrong. That's PT.
I don't know a lot about film, so I just guess I didn't pick up on that. But I thought, anyway, it is good. I mean, Sam Neill is actually, you could look at his filmography and go, he's in a lot of those kind of, In the Mouth of Madness has some body horror. At least Lovecraftian stuff.
It's got
Possession, Event Horizon, and Omen has a little bit because he has the numbers.
Stretch.
So, are you saying Sam Neill is the king of body horror?
I would say he deserves to be in Fangoria's Chainsaw Hall of Fame, like somebody wrote the other day.
Oh yeah,
and I said, "Fuck yes, of course he does."
That's unquestionably.
Yeah,
give him the credit.
He was in Invisible Man, more of a comedy, the John Carpenter one. But he's like I think that's the thing. You get these actors who bring some sort of like serious, like Jeremy Irons. You believe Jeremy Irons, so if you put him in something that just is outlandish, you can make it work. Maybe not now. Jeremy Irons now.
Jeremy Irons is going to be Alfred.
He's been
Batman.
Once you've been in what's that guy who made all the movies and boxed Chris Alexander? U-Ball. Once you're used in it's a little harder to get that back.
Jeremy Irons in Uwe Boll movie?
I think he's in all of them. No, he's got guest cameos under makeup in all of them. You can quote me on that. He's in every single U-Ball. Quote me. I'm
getting my chops busted.
I would go to a boxing ring with Jeremy Irons if this is not true.
You just want to meet Jeremy Irons.
The best story I've ever heard in my life. I remember just being so jealous in this moment. Jeremy Irons, I think he was on Oprah, and I was like a kid watching. He goes, and she goes, yes, I was in Europe once, and I was in Ireland, and my wife, we saw this beautiful castle, and she's standing in front of this castle, and I looked at her, and she looked so nice there, and so I bought the castle. Now we live in the castle. And I was like, you motherfucker. Fuck you, and you're done. No wonder you're in so many shitty movies. You fucking live in a castle. But it was pretty impressive. Not everyone could say that.
Jeremy Irons can get away with that.
Yeah. Wow. Somebody has to live in a castle. I want to ask this film because I actually think I haven't seen this since I was a kid. I feel like we should do a commentary to this movie without seeing it again, just to see our what the fuck boxing Helena. I feel like we should be forced to, because I've not seen that since all the controversy, and Kim Basinger was meant to be in, and then she sued them for $1 million.
What?
She got bankrupt. She went bankrupt over that film because she pulled out.
Well,
Kim Basinger was
why did she so
cast?
not want to do it?
Because of its boxing Helena.
Did she not read the script first? Or something?
I don't know. Maybe maybe it was something like during it realized what this was going to do to her career. Maybe somebody, how these people always have agents like scaring them. I don't know that part of it. Yeah. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
I'm sure there's articles. I mean,
but I remember the news story.
I don't think they shot anything with her.
Yeah.
Probably not.
It was a big legal
deal.
thing. She dropped out to the point where they were able to sue her over it.
Yeah,
and
because
they got Sherilyn Fenn, but they still
because she was not famous. I mean, Sherilyn Fenn isn't famous except for people like Twin Peaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to your film. But that's a film like I didn't get it when I was young, and I remember it being the butt of a lot of jokes. But I'm really curious to revisit it. But it'd be really fun if we did it in a way that's fresh eyes. I know it's body horror at the end. I remember the ending being really very body horror. And anything with Julian Sands is basically dynamite. I think I speak for the universe when they say leaving Las Vegas, him cutting her ass with the razor blade. Come on, bitch! Come on! He's no Jan Michael Vincent, but he is still still something.
I'm gonna put it that way.
Do you think have you written other films that have body horror kind of themes? You have.
Yes,
obviously Invisible is.
Big smile.
I mean, I've heard you.
I love that. I mean, I love that shit. Like my favorite guys are, growing up, like Cronenberg and Polanski. Again and again and again.
Polanski's was my number one.
And again and again.
Yeah.
And it's,
he doesn't have really body horror. It's always mentally based. I mean, Rosemary's Baby is body horror because her body's changing against her.
And I always
but the tenant, he's
considered,
turning into something else. I
think we discussed this after It Follows. I remember having this discussion on the way to the escalator that
It Follows, the best horror film of last year. I remember that one.
Yeah, the question really fast. But I remember when we left, I was like, I've seen this before. It was called Repulsion. I've always considered Repulsion to be along that same lines. It's not a body horror, but the whole idea of sex causing a disease, or you have to
definitely
it's a loss of control too, which is parallel. I think.
I think he's doing body horror of the mind in all his films. The Tenant, it's all about that you not being able to control that anymore, and something else is taking over that, which is probably scarier. Psychological horror is, it probably cuts a little closer to what we are. I mean, no one does it to you like Polanski.
It's identity. It's identity horror.
Yeah, identity horror is it would be an interesting subgenre.
I just made that subgenre.
Yeah, identity.
Mark it down.
Time crimes. Put it under that category. Boom. I've just put time crimes I just placed Nacho into identity horror.
How is
Persona is
because
the
he's
original.
losing his identity by all the replicants and getting lost within the shuffle. Don't you see it? No, she doesn't buy it.
She's speechless. She's just staring at you.
It's a good movie.
So there's this film called Mysticus in Bali that's literally about a floating head with intestines hanging off of it. Yeah, and it goes around, and there's a point where it tries to suck a fetus out of a pregnant woman. You gotta see it. It's just kind of wonderful.
You just gotta see it.
You just gotta see it.
We'll probably never do an episode on turtle body horror, but if we ever do an episode on turtle body horror, I'm going to talk about Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, no.
You already have talked about Cannibal Holocaust.
Of course, yeah. But that's that other version, like we're talking about Saw and that. That's that, things being done to the body. But that one pushes as far as you can go.
Yeah.
And be believable.
Save it for Murawski.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm glad you changed this topic.
Yeah.
Me too. I mean, we could do whatever, but you know what I mean? I love body horror movies. I mean, that's the shit that is the shit that gets under my skin. Like I was saying.
That's what that
I think I mentioned this once before on the show, but I'm intrigued by what modern day audiences perceive as good body horror, not only because Contracted definitely was not my bag, but I know a lot of younger people who thought that it was an absolutely, it meant so much to them.
I'm fascinated by that because, again, look, I like Eric as a person. I think he's a really good guy, but the movie doesn't work for me either. But the amount of feedback I've seen on Twitter from a lot of younger horror fans, they love the movie. They
loved it.
And granted, maybe it's because of their age and they're not familiar with things like Cronenberg and stuff like that.
Probably.
It's interesting that that subject can still touch a nerve with a young audience. But in other words, maybe we need more body horror movies.
Well, it wasn't a body horror class. I taught a class on, I don't even remember what it was called. It was like biology within the horror film or something like that I did at Hunter College a couple of years ago. And I showed Cronenberg's Videodrome and Existenz back to back.
Right.
My students were bored through Videodrome, freaking loved Existenz, thought it was phenomenal.
That has to be a generation thing.
Yeah. And I think that it was because I had to explain VHS culture to them. Like, we used to trade tapes, and you would find like bootleg stations and like weird shit, like Robin Bird playing at 4 a.m. And you're like, they're showing porn on.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And they had no clue.
Because now
as
they
soon
can
as
push
it was
a button.
like,
Right now, I can look at the most fucking crazy lunatic shit while we're talking without you even knowing I'm doing it. That's how different things are.
We pretty much need canes and shaking our fists in the air right now. Youngsters!
It was so cool. I remember just the idea of this pirate TV. Just like, what the fuck? I mean, that was so exciting and terrifying to me. Like, I very much wanted to have that channel. I mean, I would have.
And he also does something interesting with dreams in that movie and hallucinations that he blurs them so as it's not like, oh, now I'm asleep having this disturbing dream, because some of those best moments are the VHS going inside chest, that kind of stuff that in a normal film they would then wake up from that moment and you'd go, oh, okay, I'm safe. Yeah. But that blurring of those lines is really effective when you're dealing with weirder filmmaking and weirder stuff, I think.
Existenz is still a really effective film.
Like to see that again,
I always liked that one too, because I was very into gaming when I watched that one, and I have to say it really affected me too. The idea of losing yourself inside the game and not even knowing which level of reality is reality because you keep stepping further into the game.
But it's hard to believe that Jude Law's ever played a video game.
That was kind of
he's so proper.
It was weird. He hasn't. In it, he says he's never played a game. He's like a marketing guy, and because It's
maybe I haven't watched it for
okay.
Good memory.
The whole concept of the movie is that she is the game designer and
Love
she's
her,
there.
Jason,
yeah, and she's beautiful in it and so sultry. And she's there and they're doing a beta test of the game, but because the game inserts you into it and you can lose reality, there's this group of people like realists who are fighting the game developers trying to keep these games from being released. And they attack the beta test. And so she runs, and on the way out, Jude Law ends up with her. And he's just a marketing guy who's there determining how to market the game.
But
he's
it's also
never
insect
played
horror
before.
too, right? There's these weird insect kind of
well, they're not really insects.
Where they look insecty.
They're mutant. I think they refer to them as mutant amphibians. Because they're creating these mutant amphibians and lizards within the game, and that's what they're using to create the video game console. So the video game console is actually like a genetically engineered thing, which looks strangely vaginal, and it's got an umbilical cord that gets inserted into your back. So
that film feels like it would be a great double feature with Splice. I feel like somehow those two films feel the same. That modern, everyone's hipster, and it's just I don't know. Splice and that looks similar to me.
I love
quite
the
a clever
concept.
T-shirt collection in Splice.
That was my big issue with Splice, is how hip it was.
Oh yeah, I mean,
his
that's
house
really
is
weird.
done in a Kid Robot. He kept wearing shirts that say like "brings nothing to the table." It was like, I have an ironic T-shirt and a vinyl toy collection.
It felt like he was going. The Vincenzo was trying to do satire, but instead kind of it comes off as, oh no, that's how I view people, which is a bummer because I'm sure it did look like it's trying to be satirical.
But the scene
for some
where
reason,
the one giant worm attacks the other giant worm fucking kicked ass.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
It was awesome.
And there's actually, her development, the creature's development is
wonderful.
really great.
Yeah, that was really good.
And
work.
even some of the twists within that, if you haven't seen it. But yeah, no, it's funny. It's a strange movie. But those two films have something that remind me of each other.
Yeah.
And they're both Canadians, I guess. Damn, Canadians in body horror. John Candy.
Some going on about
Aykroyd. Big fat guys.
And on that
I think that's a sign.
Wow.
I think that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for coming on the
Thanks
show.
for having me.
Really, really
Always good
appreciate
to see
it.
you, brother.
Again, a lot of history, a lot of love for this guy. Obviously, he's got a couple of films under his belt, but I still think the best is yet to come.
I think so too.
Sir.
Right now, Dark Summer, VOD. Check it out. I found it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then later this year, Tales of Halloween.
Indeed.
And if you're interested in funding one of his films or just helping him out in general, he's a needy man. He's a very sad
He's
fellow.
got a dozen amazing scripts. Somebody make Invisible, please.
I want to see Repeater.
And Repeater.
Wow, that goes
You
so
haven't heard that?
far
That's what you
back.
heard
That's a
earlier
body
on.
horror movie.
Yeah.
I read about it today.
You did? You read about it?
We did Google on you, man. Google
What?
search.
We Googled.
Where did
I
you find it?
stalked
I did
you.
online.
If it makes you feel better, I didn't.
I stalked your ass all day. I know things about you you don't know.
That's
it's crazy.
amazing.
Like,
I certainly don't remember.
I might still have a draft of Repeater somewhere on one of my
Yeah, you definitely gave me
read it.
notes on
I
it
wanna
way
read it.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I do want to point this out. It's interesting. That thing about scratching's true. It's fucking rad.
This mess that you left us.
bleeding on the table, Elric.
Anyway.
Awful. Thank you, Paul, so much. Thank you, guys. Next week, Scream Queens, Tiffany Shepis.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
One of my old friends as well. That'll be fun.
Love her.
Yep.